guys.
Thank you! Wow!
Hell yeah. Great job, man.
And we got a crash. Cars spinning left and right.
Buddy, let her rip.
Rain like hell, baby. Come on.
Oh my God, guys! Yes! Yes! Unbelievable. You guys are the best. Yes, 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 yes! Oh, what a year.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy Darren Gilliam, aka Black Flags Matter, back for another edition of the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. We have the usual panel here, and hey, look, we already have damn near over 200 people watching, less than 5 minutes in, so let's get right into it. Oh, Daytona. Daytona happened, everybody. It was insane. It was chaotic. And we have a new winner. So that now means 15 different winners?
16.
Or excuse me, 16 different winners. That's right. 16.
If you count Kurt.
Yeah, if you count Kurt. That's right. 16
Do we
different
count
winners.
Kurt at this point?
You got to count as
Come
win.
on, give him something. He's had such a rough month.
He's had such a rough go of it, so we'll just give it to him. So basically 16 different winners. Now the playoff field is set. But before we get into the playoffs, let's talk about Daytona. Jarrett, you did a whole video on it already. Let's just start us off, man. What are your thoughts on it?
Man, you're dropping me off into the deep end. Where do we start? I mean, I'll say what I said on Sunday and Monday. Like the racing itself, I didn't have a problem with. Like I thought that it was a typical super speedway race with the next gen cars racing wise. It looked like, once again, handling is becoming more and more of an issue for some drivers, getting loose out of some corners and having to check up. And that's what caused some of the accidents, was a lot of checkups. Especially that one that came off turn 2 where like the entire bottom lane just like turned into an accordion and all crashed. But so on that respect, the racing itself wasn't bad. It was what kind of sporadically was put through the day of events that I think people are a little more upset at personally. That's my take on it. I don't, because if you just took out the context of the big one with 23 to go, and then ignored probably like a majority of the when they went back to green, I think people will be completely fine with it. But I get why people aren't. We'll get into that, but racing wise, I was pretty happy.
Yeah, and Eric, just on the racing side of things, what were your thoughts? And we'll get into the other stuff in a little bit. Yeah,
I'm with Jarrett. The racing was very good up until the rain freak shower hit in turn 1. I have nothing really else to add. It was good. I mean, you didn't see too many crashes, a couple decent ones. Luckily, Chase Briscoe's car stayed on the ground because that one looked like that could have been a much bigger crash than it was. Few here and there. Blaney getting damage early on really added a unique wrinkle to the whole race because he came in with a 25-point lead over Truex, and we just saw that lead consistently shrink as Truex was gaining stage points and Blaney was 5 laps down. So, there was something to watch at the back of the pack, something to watch at the front of the pack until the storm hit, and we'll talk about that in a second. Danny, I don't know, what did you make of the racing? Was it typical super speedway stuff or something more, something less?
Yeah, it's just same old Daytona. It's like this point, it's gonna be hard to make it not same old Daytona, but we'll get into more how the crashes are impacted this new car in a little bit. That's the big thing. That's the big takeaway from this one.
Yeah, there's a lot of big takeaways. I mean, all right, so let's just get right into one of them. I mean, first of all, the rain. Once again, Daytona has become the world center of raining, not racing, once again. And I mean, Jarrett, you made this point back in, I think it was either 2018, 2019-ish, something like that. Like, that moving this race closer to hurricane season would be a bad idea. Well,
it's not closer. It's in
hurricane season.
It's in the peak.
Excuse me, in the peak of hurricane season. Would be a bad idea. And yep, you're right on the money so far.
I mean, it's Florida. We all knew in general it would rain, so I'm not going to say it was like a slam dunk pick by any means. In thinking that, I think what really needs to be taken away here is how NBC handled it and leading up to the weekend, because right around now is when NASCAR said, like towards the end of this year or after this year, when they're going to start negotiating the new deal for after this current one in 2024 expires, and seeing how NBC leading up to it blacked out most of the major markets in Florida for the Bucks game, like a preseason game, or in other major markets more than usual. And then NASCAR was put on CNBC, even though IMSA got, a time slot on USA. It's kind of telling, I think. And I think it's not something to read too far into, but it is really interesting to see NBC's actions as a network. Their broadcast is just fine. It's really good, honestly. But as a network, it's very interesting to see what NBC is kind of doing treatment-wise with NASCAR with this whole thing.
Yeah, and Eric, do you think NBC could have handled that a little bit better, or were they right on the money to schedule it on CNBC and then have IMSA be on USA?
So the first part about that Jarrett just mentioned about blacking it out in I think Tampa, Orlando,
and then
I think that those are the main ones in Florida. I know there are a couple others, but
it was actually some of it covered near Daytona as well, because I know a few people from IDK's lobbies that are from around there that are like, oh yeah, it's out here too. So
yeah,
it's like,
that is questionable. I know what it really speaks to, I think, more than NASCAR, because we've seen ratings have gone up this year. It speaks to the dominance of the NFL still over everything. And even though Tom Brady's not playing, if it's got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers named on it, I guess that gets priority. That's surprising considering the amount of promotion this race got. I was opening up, I used the Score as much as I used the Athletic for my sports stuff, and all week long, I'd open it up and they had a big front page ad that every user saw before they could actually use the app. And it was NASCAR, Daytona, Last Chance, NBC. So simultaneously, I think they were promoting this race more so than, a lot of races, because it is a big marquee event. But then blacking it out in key markets, you're getting mixed messages. As far as Sunday, I think they did the best they could. I understand not wanting to move IMSA from its already set time slot and channel. They had that USA slot, I imagine, scheduled out months, if not years in advance. So moving them to CNBC, while it sucks, I think they did what they had to do to ensure they could give NASCAR a full day of coverage, because that's what they did. NASCAR was on CNBC from 10 a.m. Eastern until whenever the race ended. When was that, 6? Mm-hmm. Something like that? It was constant NASCAR, whether it was a replay, whether it was live coverage, the rain, they were NASCAR all the time. And they couldn't have done that on USA, and they definitely couldn't have done that on the flagship NBC. So they scheduled it that way to give them the full day in case of rain came. I don't have a real problem with how they managed it Sunday. It just, sucks that it got rained out. If I'm not mistaken, though, last year's race in August, the Xfinity race got rained out. The Cup race did not get rained out last year. So 1 for 2. I think that's kind of what you're going to average in Florida over the summer.
And the thing with CNBC, it just makes sense. I mean, what are they going to take the place of on a Sunday on CNBC?
Yeah.
And they just talk about the markets. Markets are closed on the weekend. So.
Yeah. What was that guy? They kept seeing commercials for that one stock market guy. What was his name? He was interesting. He was freaking me out a little. He was a little too intense. He was like, give me 10 minutes and I will change your life. And I was like, what is this guy?
And the funny thing is that dude's usually wrong about it.
I don't know who he is.
He's not very good. But I will say it was funny. I turned it on beforehand and they were talking about some coins from the 1870s. And I'm like,
I did saw that. I was like,
God. We really are on the dad channel.
So y'all got the very interesting commercials. Meanwhile, NBC Sports Streaming it doesn't matter if it's side by side coverage or whatever. They play the same 7 or 8 commercials every single time on repeat, basically. So that was annoying to watch and stuff, especially for side by side coverage.
Jim Kramer, that's who it was. He's not very good at his job.
just that he wasn't even looking at the camera. He was looking down here. It just freaked me out a little bit. It scared me.
Well, look, the rain was one thing, and the broadcasting partners, handling it, that's another. But getting to the actual racing once again. Hey, Austin Dillon again. This is his third career win, correct? Third career win, I believe. Yeah, I think so. So 2 at Daytona, 1 at Charlotte, right? Yeah. So third.
That's and Texas.
Texas, 4th career Cup Series win. There you go.
Gosh.
So 2 of them at the Daytona International Speedway. So. Eric, start us off here. Hey, look, entering the playoffs and the regular season points, Austin Dillon was just barely inside the top 20, specifically 19th in the standings. And his win locks him in the playoffs and unfortunately bumps out Martin Truex Jr. At the end of the day. So, hey, look, once again, it seems like we talk about this every year, leading up to the playoffs, the whole playoff controversy here. I've seen some debate about it, but what were your thoughts on the whole deal?
I think I know Richard Childress is still upset with Tyler Reddick, but he better have given him a hug and a kiss on the mouth for helping Austin Dillon lock up that final restart.
That was Junior. Reddick, that was Junior blocking for Senior, though. That was Junior blocking for Senior.
Oh my gosh, no.
I don't know where he restarted. I think Reddick was 10th or something, but he worked his way up to third and then got that put. I think he was in front of Gregson maybe. I don't know how he got to second, but he had to pass a lot of cars. Austin Dillon, was first, held it for a while, fell back, got it back. But Reddick's the one who had to drive through the field and play defense for him, like a 400-pound offensive lineman. Like he was fantastic and locked it up for him. But as far as for Austin Dillon, what it means for him, sure, he was not consistent this year, kind of had a down year, was getting outrun by Reddick almost every week. Is he as deserving of a playoff spot as Martin Truex? No, he's not. He is the guy to blow up the winning year in this year, the way Michael McDowell kind of was last year. So I don't know what to make of it. He played the game right. He got the dub. I do think Austin Dillon gets a little too much hate. He's not as good as Tyler Reddick, obviously. I don't have the number pulled up in front of me. But since are you like how many years he's made the chase?
Not that, but I have a funnier number, especially after all you just said.
Well, my number, I just know he's made the playoffs far more than he's missed the playoffs in his Cup Series career, which is crazy to me. And I think he does deserve a little bit of credit for that. This year, had to kind of fluke a win to get it, but I don't know. I'm not going to hate on him. It was good. He did what he had to do, and he got help from his teammate. Team effort.
My stat number I have up here is 16.7. What is the significance of that number?
16.7.
It's his average finish, I guess. But
correct.
Yeah.
It is also the exact same average finish as Tyler Reddick this year.
Whoa. So
they have done exactly the same.
He's not too far off then. Wow.
Wow. Damn. Okay. I mean, Reddick's had some wacky moments, but geez.
No, he's just been more inconsistent. Like Austin Dillon's been consistently hovering around 16th, whether it's four forward or four backwards. But I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think he's actually any less deserving than a couple guys that are behind him. Like Chase Briscoe, I think is probably the worst guy in there. If we want to talk about people taking up a spot.
But where did because I think Dillon is officially the lowest guy in the regular season points of people who made it in, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's even behind Briscoe and Cindric.
Actually,
I could be wrong.
Well, actually, hold on. Let me pull up the point standings, and I'll pull them up here on the podcast. Or do you have them?
Well, no. I'm just saying Austin Dillon has the same amount of top fives, but he has more top tens this year than Briscoe. Okay. And that's even with more DNFs too. So like when he's on track, he's outrunning Briscoe handily.
So really quick, I have the playoff points on the screen, and yes, Austin Dillon is in fact he is the last guy in the playoffs. He is 1 point behind Alex Bowman and Austin Cindric.
Well, that's playoff points.
Playoff points.
Yeah, I'm talking about like in terms of if you just added up like almost Winston Cup style for the first 26 races.
Here, I'll look it up.
Yeah,
really
look
quick.
that up. Really
I don't know if we can find that now.
I know Winston Cup wise. It would be Chase Briscoe, but that's a whole different format. Yeah, I mean, yes, it is Austin Dillon, but it's by 12 points.
Okay, so not too
Briscoe.
Much. So Dillon is the lowest. That's all. I know he's not far off, but he is the lowest to make it in. Which I don't know. That to me, here's the thing. I don't think Martin Truex Jr. was going to win the championship this year. They were not poised to make a championship run, in my opinion. So at the end of the day. I mean, neither is Austin Dillon. So I don't know. I think it just made, a few guys' chances of making it to the round of 8 maybe a little bit easier. That's all. That's all I'll leave it at.
Yeah, that's a good point. And also, too, I feel like there'd be more fan outrage if Ryan Blaney missed the playoffs, considering, A, he's a more popular driver than Truex, and B, he was higher in points than Truex as well.
Blaney, I think realistically still could if he can get some wins under his name.
No, yeah, when we talk about the playoffs more, we can talk about him possibly making a potential run as well. So yeah, definitely. But Danny, what you think?
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting the way the playoffs worked out. Dillon is one of those that he's either good or he's not good each year. It feels like so. Maybe it's a Mickey way to get into the playoffs this year for him, but as someone pointed out, I think it was Ryan Pastana pointed out, about every single one of his wins has been, quote, Mickey wins now. So I thought that was an interesting thing.
Yeah, he's not a kind of guy who's going to go out and dominate a race or run top 3 all day and lead the most laps. I want to look up how many years he's made the playoffs. Let's see. He didn't make it in 14 or 15, I don't believe, but he's made it in 16, 17, 18, didn't make it in 19, did make it in 20. Did he miss it last year? Yeah, he did. Reddick made it. He did.
So only one of those years that he got in was because of pointing his way in.
Now,
But that's five of the last 7 years he's made the playoffs.
now, did he get out of the first round in any of those?
That's a good question. I don't know that number off the top of my head.
Well,
but-
I don't think he went out in 2020 because he was in contention to win that Darlington race.
That's right.
I thought he got eliminated, but it was because of like a fluke issue. But he was like probably
maybe you're
second or
right.
third fastest guy in 2020. Like
he came out of the
he's-
gate strong that year
Yeah.
in the playoffs.
He's not going to win a championship, but he's good at Darlington. He's not bad whatsoever at Kansas. At least in recent
There towards the
runnings.
beginning
And
of the
Bristol,
season,
he's
he
not
was
bad either.
There towards the beginning of the season, he was doing pretty good.
Yeah.
What was it, Auto Club? He was in contention to win that one.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then he was
he
running
finished
well.
second, didn't
He
he?
was running well at Phoenix, but then he and or I think Daniel Suarez got into him on the final lap, and he would have gotten a top 10. So I feel like that
Coke
kinda
600.
sent him on a
I know
downward
it was,
trend.
it was screwy at the end of the Coke 600 this year, but Dylan was up to second before everyone wrecked.
That's true.
He finished second at Auto Club.
That's right.
I want to see where I want to double check, but I'm pretty sure he finished like in top 10 at Darlington. And that's the track that he almost ran down Kevin Harvick back in 2020, where it was like he came out like a bat out of hell and made out like a second and a half in the last 2 laps.
Wasn't he in a Junior Johnson throwback too? So that was
Yes,
fitting.
he was.
That
He was.
fitting.
Yep.
Fitting.
Austin Dillon's not a superstar who's going to light NASCAR on fire by any means. Maybe he'll eventually come into it as a veteran. I mean, Martin Truex Jr. took a long time to get to where he is or has been over the last few years, but for now he's serviceable.
And
He's got
also-
four career wins. I think that's something anyone can be happy with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just the fact that he's been to the playoffs 5 of the last 7 years. Like exactly, not lighting the world on fire, but just quietly doing
He's
about
a-
what you expect him to do in
He's a
that car.
champion of the Truck
him to
Series
win.
and Xfinity Series too. Let's not forget that. So.
Yeah.
Exactly. No one expects him to win a title in an RCR car. Nobody expects anyone to win a title in an RCR car, especially not the last 10 years. So what Dylan's been able to do is, fine. I don't think he deserves the hate that he sometimes gets. Not that he gets a lot of hate, but it sometimes feels a little overblown.
At Darlington, he finished 9th, and he finished ahead of 9 other playoff drivers that race.
See?
Some of
I-
which
I
he actually
wouldn't-
beat off speed.
I wouldn't count him completely out this round.
So I found this comment really funny from Need for Speed 5353. He says 2 things. The first thing is, I'm an Austin Dillon fan. It's so nice to see people not consistently shitting on him. I'm like, oh dang, that's right. But then also he brought up another fact. He said he has made it to the round of 12 twice. I'm like, okay, so we can potentially make the round of 12 this year.
Go get him.
If a few things go right, we'll see about that. But yeah.
The thing with Austin Dillon, I mean, outside of, he got into Almarola. Yeah, he got into Cindric. But outside of just the fact that he's family of Richard Childress in the 3 car, I can't say he does anything consistently that just makes people hate him.
No.
That I would see.
Until his show came along on USA.
Well, yeah, that, but also too the way he sometimes races at the Daytona International Speedway, though. I mean, the first win, the 500 win, of course, he took out Almarola on the final lap, and then he shoved Cindric out of the way too. So I do see why some people feel sometimes.
Who am I to judge though? If I was in that situation, the win's right there. I don't know what I'd
Yeah,
do.
you gotta do what you gotta do. Yeah.
I just literally, like in my show this week when I talked about it, I just glossed over the fact that he punted Cindric because that's not even the worst thing we've seen this month in the Cup Series.
Yeah.
Well, and Cindric
this
wasn't
year's
upset
gone.
with it.
Yeah.
Like I think after the race, Cindric said he was all right with it. Like after the fact.
Cindric, I think, knew his car was not as good as what he had in spring. So
Yeah.
You know who's I wish was as good as the one he had in spring was freaking Cody Ware.
Yes. Yeah, so let's talk about the underdogs really quick, though. We had some very interesting finishes. So, rounding out the top 5, both Landon Castle and Noah Gregson get 4th and 5th place finishes, followed by Cody Ware, BJ McLeod, and then David Reagan rounding out the top 10. And we can kind of tie this into the whole final lap
one person is really happy about these underdogs.
yeah, we can kind of tie this. We can kind of tie this into the whole, final caution red flag controversy because obviously they weren't getting those finishes without this without the final wreck we had saw. So if you didn't see it, what basically happened was, and Eric, you were showing it on the replays on your little stream. By the way, amazing coverage. By the way, I think you peaked at like 2.1 thousand views. That was
thank
great
you.
coverage during the rain delay. So I just wanted to say that live on here. But back to my point, if you didn't see the wreck, basically the rains had came a little bit too early, I guess, and the drivers found out firsthand. You saw Justin Haley spin it into the wall, and then just a bunch of drivers took major hits too. Denny Hamlin, Daniel Suarez, you saw Stenhouse, then Bubba Wallace too. But then what was making some headlines too after the wreck was not just, like, hey, this is another potential NASCAR debacle here up in the officiating booth, but the driver audios that were recorded after the wreck too. Denny Hamlin had something to say. Daniel Suarez had a little something to say after the race as well, not just about the officiating, but about how these cars are too rigid. And then Bubba Wallace saying, or no, not saying, he freaking screamed over the radio. He is not, like, he couldn't believe that he was getting all the air taken out.
He screamed, NASCAR, these cars are not safe.
Yeah, basically is what he was saying. So, Jarrett, we'll start off with you here. I mean, just... very interesting week and stuff. So I guess we can start off with the whole caution debacle here. Just, was NASCAR in the wrong? Are people too hard on them? What do you think?
So at first I was definitely like gung-ho on they effed up horribly, needs to be completely fixed. I think we even had it in the chat where I was like saying that. And then it was like the next lap or a few minutes later, they show that the lap before, there was no rain in the corner that time by, like Justin Haley said. I like how he kind of tried to rein it in afterwards too. He was like, I got my laps mixed up.
Yeah, you got your laps. Okay.
But I will say that, there were video from all over the stands, people I talked to that were there who said, like, as they were going down the back stretch, it was raining on the front stretch. It might not have shown on the cameras, but there was rain scattered throughout the front stretch. So I think, when they showed the radar right before, like 3 laps before, and they showed like to the minute radar, and the rain was like in Daytona, just not at the track. So I think, it's difficult in that moment just because it probably was a giant cloudburst. It was sunny in turn 1 when it happened, but at the same time, it's going to rain, it's coming, and for a fact that with the way that it's building like that, within 5 minutes of being there, like, that's not missing the track.
Yeah, and Suarez, Suarez did say, like, hey, look, if the rain's close, then just call it now, don't wait until it's on the track, right?
That's where I kind of am wanting to bring in a bit of an idea is, like, we, for obvious reasons, we have a lightning protocol, but should there be like a rain protocol? And yes, it sucks, but at least it's like, for a fact what it is, especially if you're in a place where there's constant rain like Daytona at fast speeds like this, where guys did, at least not horribly, but did get hurt in this wreck. Like, that's my question. Can there be like a more of a rain protocol other than just, well, it's raining now, so we'll call the caution at this point?
Something needs to change, only because this is 2 or 3 times I can think of off the top of my head in the last year and a half where drivers have wrecked and or nearly been hurt due to NASCAR not making the right call in wet conditions. Now, unlike COTA 2021, where the track had been slowly but getting more and more wet, we'd seen the restart previously, that visibility was a problem. Unlike COTA, where NASCAR clearly messed up, and unlike New Hampshire, where NASCAR clearly got too aggressive and messed up, I'm not sure I can put this one all on NASCAR. I think they had basically from turn 4 to, the start finish line to decide if they needed to throw a caution. We've seen these cars, even at super speedways, race through a little bit of rain. Like, it's possible. You see it on the cameras, you see it on the onboards. There'll be some drops, and just like, oh, there's still 3 wide racing through these drops. So there's, that heavy rain that we saw just suddenly pelt turn 1 likely broke within several seconds of the field entering turn 1. So I'm going to give NASCAR some benefit of the doubt, saying that this might have just been the worst possible case of a fluke, but absolutely work can be done to speed up the process by which officials on the ground in the turns relay to race control, hey, it's raining. I think Rick Allen discussed like maybe putting a sensor out. I don't know if there's such a thing exists. I'm no meteorologist, but sure, if there's whatever the latest technology is that allows you to know exactly how much precipitation is on the racetrack at a given time, anything that speeds up the moment of rain to the moment the button is pressed, throw the caution, should absolutely be explored, which is why I didn't like, I think it was Scott Miller, right, who went in the booth and said, oh, from our end, we did everything we could. There's nothing we could have done differently. I don't like to hear that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, maybe this was a fluke, sure, but you can always learn from this and try to improve, as Denny Hamlin said after. Better officiating. That's maybe what can just be improved overall.
Well, that's a funny part of him saying that, and then that fan posting his video onto Twitter
Yeah.
is, and it's one of the few times, like, the beauty of social media that like a giant multi-billion-dollar company can be proven wrong by just like a dude with 20 followers, like that kid. Because it's like because at one point he's like, it wasn't raining at all on the front stretch, and it's like literally kids standing right underneath the press box. It's raining.
It's raining.
So again, it didn't start when they were in turn one beforehand, and it started, like, I would say probably halfway down the backstretch. So at that point, I would understand it not getting relayed in time. I just think that you have a car that, and we'll talk about this pretty quick here. You have a car that has shown to have safety issues. You're at a track where they're going faster than pretty much any place on the schedule aside from maybe Michigan. I don't like chancing it. Like, it's like if you have to play it safe, like, you're on CNBC on a Sunday morning at this point, you're not really going to lose too many viewers. Like, the ones that are watching are going to watch no matter what. So it's like, I think err on the side of safety.
Like, what's crazy is they did just a week ago at Watkins Glen.
Yeah,
they extended that red flag by half an hour because
we were giving them praise. We were praising them.
And some people were even criticizing them for being like, Kimi Räikkönen was saying, hey, we should stay on track. That'll dry it up faster. And some people were saying, he's right. NASCAR is being too safe. So I understand they have a tough job, which is why I'm not coming down too hard on them for this mistake. It looks really bad because 20 cars just got destroyed. A driver is missing a race this weekend because of this crash. Like it looks really, really bad. But I'm not going to say this was NASCAR race control just straight up blowing it. Things can be done to make the process better, so it's far less likely this happens. We were talking in our group chat. I forget which race you went to. It was the All-Star race or the All-Star Open in like 2001. A bunch of cars wrecked because it was raining. But that was 20 years ago. In the last 2 years, Texas 2020, Kevin Harvick wrecks in the rain. I just mentioned Coda last year. I mentioned New Hampshire last year. Now this. We've had 4 races in the past 2 years where guys have wrecked in the rain. Why have we all of a sudden got worse at predicting the weather? We shouldn't be getting worse at this. We should be getting better. So that's where procedurally things can absolutely change.
Yeah, I agree. But what makes this even worse? Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, but you don't want to see, I'm also scared to say, oh, it looks like it might rain. We better go ahead and put a caution just in case. And then it doesn't rain.
I'd rather be in that position because you have a driver like Denny Hamlin now who, if he's
at Daytona for sure.
If he's missing the Xfinity race this weekend, because of have you guys all heard the audio from him in that car?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like that was bad. Like that sounded horrible, like on every level. It reminded me of some of the like older ones that had been going around on Twitter earlier in the summer. And it's like, if he's missing an Xfinity race because he's so sore that he can't race as much as he always has, like he's obviously not 100% at this point. Like, that's where I kind of that the line needs to be drawn. And I don't know if there's a certain speed that, at whatever track they go to that you draw a line at, or maybe you do it like with the aero packages with like a length of track, a size of track that you put it out early.
If it's a track like Bristol, sure, let them run till it's raining, I guess.
But that's the thing, I don't even know then either, because it's like those are hard hits too. Like, I mean, look back, I think it was at Martin Truex Jr. about 10 years ago or so at Martinsville. He absolutely nailed the wall. I mean, New Hampshire's a track that's killed drivers before. So I don't know how much you can do it off track size either. I think it's just, as much as it might piss fans off, erring on the side of safety and avoiding something like this might be the better play long term.
Speaking of safety, one thing that made this wreck a whole lot worse was, again, the audios of the drivers, being basically coming out after the wreck. And then, earlier in the week, Chase Briscoe says that his head is still sore. It's still sore, and he has to race this weekend. He's starting the NASCAR playoffs this weekend. So, let's have the safety talk again too. I mean, we have seen this all season long where certain drivers are saying like, yeah, these cars are too rigid, and you're seeing certain hits that on paper don't look like they're as severe as but then you later find out like, hey, Kurt Busch he's been out ever since that Pocono qualifying crash, and then all of the driver audios from Denny Hamlin, Bubba Wallace, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Daniel Suarez having his post-race comments. And again, it's bringing the topic of safety to the forefront again in NASCAR. And then also too, Christopher Bell, he had did a little interview after the race, and he had said that he was very concerned about the safety of these cars. Basically, these smaller hits, like they're not as good as they. Well, I mean, like obviously when you hit it, when you hit the wall or hit another car in racing, it doesn't feel good, but it feels a whole lot worse. These like mid-level hits feel a whole lot worse than ever before, compared to the Gen 6.
Car doesn't give.
Yeah, exactly. So like, hey, Jared, you start us off here too. Like, what are the problems with it, and can we fix it in time for next season, or what's the deal?
I don't. Okay, so I'll preface this. I'm not exactly an engineer here, but just the eye test alone, we've talked about it on here before. It's like you see the cars, like if it's not a head-on collision like Suarez took or like some of these other guys took, a lot of times the car doesn't give, at least externally. And from what Bell was saying in that quote you talked about, is that when the driver gets all that energy, it doesn't go to their body, it goes to their head, which I don't think I have to say how important your head is. And even earlier in the season, we saw to an effect of like what a crash at Daytona in the next gen car can do to a driver. If you remember, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. hit the wall in the closing laps of the 500, and like
damn near hit his head on the steering wheel.
Forward. Yeah, that was scary.
And I saw a comparison, and it was a comparison to a wreck, I think in like 2016 or 17, that was very similar to that. And the driver moved in the seat, like you're going to move. But the driver didn't go all the way forward like that. You look back and they showed another clip. I think it was 2012 at Talladega. Clint Boyer had a crash, and he moved a little more forward than he did in the Gen 6, but less than this. And then I think it was like 2004. There was someone had a wreck at Talladega, and they flew forward similar to what Stenhouse did. So it's obvious that something needs to be changed. I again don't know off the top of my head what could be done aside, just because I don't have expertise with that. But I think like a common sense thing would be like what the drivers are saying, with more crush zones so that energy dissipates quicker.
Yeah, I've seen them talk about doing things to the actual safer barrier, because like you were saying, Darian, it's the mid-level wrecks that are hurt the most, the ones where you don't hit the wall hard enough to really bend in that safer barrier. The car's not giving, so if the wall doesn't give either because you didn't hit it hard enough, that's when people are really feeling it the most. Even Ty Gibbs, that little barely crash into the tire barrier at Watkins Glen he had a couple weeks ago, he even said that hurt a little more than he thought it would. So what's shocking to me is it's old drivers like Hamlin missing the Xfinity race this week, or Kurt Busch missing the whole season at this point. It's the old drivers that are talking about it, and it's the young drivers like Daniel Suarez, like Bubba Wallace, like Christopher Bell, because the audio, like even Austin Dillon, because NASCAR Man on Twitter posted a great thread of like 15 or 20 different times this year a driver has criticized the next gen's safety components, mainly just how it gives. Because the thing is, a big crash, it's actually stronger. I think if you go upside down, hit with your roof, I think it's stronger than the Gen 6. If you get T-boned in the driver's side door, it's stronger than the Gen 6. Much less likely the driver's going to get injured. But if you just back into the fence at Pocono, you're out 16 races, as Kurt Busch has found. Like that's the problem with this car is it's, I don't think anyone's going to die in this car, but you might see it clearly seem to be seeing an uptick in concussions or borderline concussion-like symptoms. And that's disturbing. Like, it's great that probably nobody's going to die, knock on wood, but you don't want to see star drivers end their careers early the way Carl Edwards chose to, or the way Dale Earnhardt Jr. was ultimately forced to. Like, NASCAR is a sport built on its superstar drivers. When your driver retires, it can be hard to latch onto a new one. So you want your stars to stick around as much as possible, because that's what'll keep the most loyal fans around.
Well, and I what I worry about, and I talked about it today a bit, was based on what the talk had been, whether it was members of Door Bumper Clear talking about stuff Jeff Burton had said to them about it, what drivers have said about it, especially being hit in the rear, is no matter how you get hit, if you get hit in the rear, it's going to be the worst possible hit you can get. And my thought on this is, the Gen 6, for all the crap that we give it for racing that is deserved, was probably the safest car that NASCAR's had. And you look at what happened with Eric Almarola in 2017. I believe he broke his back with that crash because he was hit straight from behind. what happens if that accident happens with the next gen car? Because it is probably a 1 in a million accident, that angle, that speed, that situation in general, but it's a possibility. And
sorry, I not to deviate to it, but I don't want to focus too much on a one specific hypothetical. I want to talk about something that's real. NASCAR's added 2 more super speedways. They've added stages, so more restarts, more chances for multi-car crashes with guys close together racing at high speed. So NASCAR is actively promoting a style of racing that encourages more wrecks,
but
while
that opens a
simultaneously
possibility to that kind of hit.
No,
too.
I know, but while simultaneously introducing a car that does not handle average crashes as badly. So I'm more broadly, because I see people in the chat even saying racing's supposed to be dangerous.
Well, you don't want to go backwards.
Well, you don't want drivers to start retiring at 35 because they've experienced concussions. You don't want it to be like the NFL. You don't want it to be like the NFL where a guy will play for 2 years and retire. Like how are fans supposed to latch on to drivers if stars aren't sticking around for more than 10 years or 5 years or 8 years, especially the guys that have already secured the bag, like Harvick. I'm shocked he's racing his contract out at this point. Kyle Busch, who's about to get paid a whole lot less than he's used to getting paid. Why would he stick around more than a couple more years if he doesn't get a major sponsor when he has his health on the line like this? Like you just drivers are crazy, but I don't think they're that crazy. Carl Edwards showed that some drivers aren't as crazy as others. And I don't know. That's what I'm worried about. Jared, there's a possibility of that horrible crash happening and somebody actually being so seriously injured that their life could be seriously threatened in the moment. That's possible. But we know, considering the trend that things are going, there's going to be other drivers at Talladega in a few weeks. I won't be shocked if someone suffers a minor concussion, like just from an average wreck. At Las Vegas, name a big track we're racing at the end of this year. There's going to be a crash that rattles somebody. We know that's going to happen. And until the next gen gets fixed, which, like Jared said earlier, I don't know how to do it. It's probably really, really hard. They'd almost have to rebuild the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like
there's so many other things that you have to fear for. I mean, without getting into the detail, there's been a lot of pro athletes in many different sports suffer CTE and do some horrible stuff because it's a result of that.
Yeah, so that's like we can talk about the very slim possibility somebody dies in these cars, but I'd rather focus on what's already happening, people getting concussions.
But I don't think it's just necessarily the fact of someone dying, the fact that it has been increased substantially, the fact that somebody could die.
Well, I actually don't know. I actually don't know because I think the car's strong enough that I don't know. Well, I hate to talk about this because obviously if somebody, God forbid, does die in a NASCAR stock car in the next few years, this conversation is going to look really bad, So, but I think the car, Corey LaJoie said it best. The car handles the big, scary crashes better than the last car did. It handles the medium accidents worse, which tells me you're going to get more concussions, but hopefully no major life-threatening scenarios.
The problem with getting more concussions is the fact that the more concussions you get, the more life-threatening it will be.
Yeah.
I guess that's later concussions that, for instance, I suffered, I wouldn't have suffered before my first one.
No, I know. Yeah, concussions get easier the more and more you sustain. Yeah,
and the big problem with that is the more damage you do to your brain, it heightens that likelihood of just lights out like that.
And also too, you also have to take this into account too. Based on NASCAR's history, they seem to have a slow reaction time when it comes to safety in some aspects, in some eras too. Just look back at Brock Beard's video of 3 gone before February there too. That says it all right there. Obviously they're way better than they were in that era, but still, we shouldn't take this for granted and stuff too. A bunch of drivers, old and young, are saying something. So again, like I said, like we've all said, I'm not an engineer. I don't know how to make these safer, but NASCAR, they have some pretty talented people over there. I'm sure they can figure out a way.
Yeah, that's what's so alarming about it, is there isn't an obvious or certainly not an easy fix. There may be some obvious fixes, but they're not going to be easy to do even in time for next year. That's what's concerning.
And it doesn't help at all either that you have a driver culture right now. It feels like that it's just balls to the wall. Who cares if we hit everybody? So be it. With a lot of these younger drivers taking the place of older ones right now, and I have to think that with much younger drivers putting it on the line more than an older driver would, because it's just night and day different eras, that also adds to it. And you got, maybe it'll lead to a bit of a more cautious, self-policing driver era like we used to have. But I think that takes time to be instituted among them. And it is pretty interesting, like Eric said, that it's young and old, but it's like if you look at the majority of the drivers recently who have been making a lot more of the statements, not just the ones over the whole time, but recently, it is younger drivers. It's drivers that are younger than all four of us. Like I don't
want to just like sound like a boomer when I say this, but in a way, like so many younger drivers doing tons of iRacing, tons of simulator stuff. I'm almost, they can go on there, they can have the freedom to just race as hard as they want to with no repercussions. I'm probably just scared that eventually it translates on the real racetrack.
Yeah, some of that I guess does bleed out a little bit too, but I think mainly to Jared's earlier point, like it's just all part of this new driver culture now, where it's like, hey, you have to do what you got to do to win and stuff, and I'll be damned with with wrecking and stuff like that, because hey, at least I went for the win, right? But then now that these cars are now that the safety's in question, it's like
I just wonder soon. I wonder if they'll change, like if drivers will be held more accountable, or if they will race.
I don't want to say really quick. I'll ask this question to each of you: which changes first, the NASCAR making these cars safer, or the driver culture?
Driver culture will take place over years. I think there'll be something next year, whether it's change to the safer barriers or some other change to the car that we don't know is possible that they're able to make. I think you'll see something happen there first before driver culture changes. But over time, it could. It'd have to be
NASCAR changing the cars, because you ask to change driver culture, you're asking to change how people are.
I just like Kurt Busch has been out for 6 weeks with a concussion, and we saw Austin Dillon nearly wreck Austin Cindric for the win.
I was just about to say something about that too. Do you think some of these recent accidents and these other drivers speaking out, would that have any sort of effect on the way drivers police the racing and stuff, or is like, no, we're just gonna keep doing what we
I think it'll have. I think if because it's not a slam dunk guarantee. I think a lot of times we take it for granted how smart the people behind the scenes designing cars can be with safety with NASCAR. But from what it sounded like last year when we were hearing about this stuff, I mean, remember like early in the testing process, we all heard about the rumors of William Byron that sound very similar to what we're dealing with right now.
Yep.
I mean, if that's still the case 2 years later, who's saying it doesn't take 2 more years to fix it? I think the driver culture that we could see shift is the fact that a lot of these older guys say, screw it, it's not worth it.
I won't be shocked if Kurt retire. I think Kurt may have raced his last race. I won't be shocked at this point. That's just speculation.
He's not going to be the driver that he was before. He might be competitive still, but he's not going to be a driver who's.
I feel like he won't be as aggressive.
I don't want to buy into conspiracies or anything. I'm not saying that I believe this or anything, because I don't want to believe this, but I did see some fans, specifically on Facebook, throwing out the crazy idea that, we saw Chris Buescher out due to, COVID earlier this year. Some people were thinking that the timing of it right after his big flip at Charlotte not have been entirely COVID related.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard those theories too. I've heard those.
It's just one of those crazy conspiracies you see on Facebook, so you try to avoid those. Yeah. It's like, man,
avoid Facebook.
That just it worries me, because we've seen it feels like it's been taken for granted for so long, but maybe not by all the drivers, but a lot of times by fans, where it's like, we were talking earlier that we more than likely we won't see, and I think, knock on wood, this won't happen. We're probably not going to see a driver get killed, but the possibility is there at a much greater ability now. But we've had so long now. It's been 21 years since a driver has died in any of the top 3 series, that NASCAR's reactionary. And if that's what it has to take for like sweeping changes in this regard, like it might be ugly leading up to it.
It's just tough because they just spent all this money, got all these teams to buy into this car. And I don't know, is there just something you can tweak on the car to fix this? Or do you need to reinvent whole sections of the car? In which case, boom, your whole like next gen going to save the sport in terms of cutting costs. That's out the window for at least the next 10 years. Like,
well, I was reading that there was an excellent Reddit post put about this where there were links and everything to actual articles talking about it. And that NASCAR had done almost all of their like rec testing as simulations on software, which is normal in the car industry. I'm not
especially due to COVID. They had a lot of issues getting crash
they
test. Yeah.
they did less, and also with the part shortages, but they did less testing physically, I think, than like the last two generations,
That wouldn't surprise me.
both. And I think like the number was like, I think they did two actual tests or something within a certain amount of time. This is at the same time the whole crash dummy conspiracy was thrown out there. But they did less physical crash tests, and they didn't do any, at the point of the article that was written, any crash tests with multiple cars like they used to do. And that's where it's like, you wonder, is, NASCAR is all about cutting costs nowadays. Is that a corner cut? Like, where drivers back then, when this was going on, that's when Denny Hamlin had said the drivers aren't being listened to.
That's when they formed the drivers count, the drivers advisory served, whatever the new thing with Jeff.
I don't think that's a what's the word, coincidence, basically.
I don't think it is. It's just at the time we didn't have the whole story like we do now. And so it's like, if NASCAR was in a rush to put out this car because they had to push it back a year already, like, who's to say that there weren't some shortcuts taken along the way? I'm not saying it was malicious by any means, but we're seeing the repercussions right now in every week. A driver, like, if someone like Chris Buescher's having headaches 2, 3, 4 days later, like, just an educated guess here and from a little experience, like, that sounds like a concussion. That's what it sounds like. Yeah. Like, if Chris Buescher was an NFL player, he'd not be allowed to compete this week. I was listening to Aaron Rodgers talk about the concussion protocol in the NFL, for instance, and basically that if you get anything close to a concussion in the NFL, you're not allowed to compete the next week unless you go through a million like rigorous different tests. I don't know if NASCAR is as in depth with that, because a lot of it is self-policing among drivers. Like, you look, it's a Dale Jr. who's older. It's a Kurt Busch who's older, who is stepping out of the car. Who's to say that a lot of them aren't reporting it as well as an older driver would.
Yeah. At the end of the day, safety should always be the number one priority. If these drivers even have the slightest issue with the way these cars are, handling in terms of safety, then we need to listen. NASCAR needs to listen. So hopefully they, react very quickly before something, else bad happens.
I'm going to say this now, just because they're not telling us doesn't mean they're not addressing it. Like, I think NASCAR is. I don't think they're just putting their heads under the sand like a lot of fans think they are.
What do you want them to say? Just come out and say, yeah, our car's not safe. Get over it.
Well, yeah, they're never going to say that.
They're never going to say it. Yeah, that's the thing. They'll never say that. I think it's the fact that drivers are so vocal about it now. And I mean, when Kevin Harvick, for instance, when he talked to Bob Pockers about it, he's like, are we overblowing this? He's like, you're not talking about it enough. Like, this was, I think, 3 or 4 weeks ago he said this. And now all the drivers, these younger drivers, are talking about it in interviews and in different broadcast sections and stuff. And it's like, so it's just, it's going to be an ongoing story throughout the year. And that's the part that sucks. I think.
And, hopefully, obviously, we obviously wish the drivers the best. Hopefully there's no other, major concerns or whatever. But I mean, looking at the playoff schedule, I mean, it's going to be kind of hard to avoid some of these hits at some of these tracks, like a Talladega and stuff. So, we'll see what happens with that. But moving on to the playoffs, though, I'm going to put up the playoff grid on the screen again. Hey, it's time for playoffs. The field of 16 is set. So let's go over the playoff cut line really quick. Chase Elliott is plus 33 above the cut line. He is the regular season champion. And then in second place is Joey Logano plus 18, Ross Chastain plus 13, Kyle Larson plus 12, William Byron plus 7, Denny Hamlin plus 6, as well as Ryan Blaney, who barely got in the playoffs. But hey, consistency is kind of rewarded in these playoffs too. I mean, he barely just got in, but now all of a sudden he's 7th, so he moved up the grid a little bit. And then Tyler Reddick and Kevin Harvick are both plus 5, Christopher Bell plus 4, Kyle Busch plus 3. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And then Chase Briscoe rounds out the top 12 at plus 2. Now, starting off the playoffs below the cut line is Daniel Suarez minus 2, Austin Cindric and Alex Bowman minus 3. Sorry, Danny. And finally, in 16th, Austin Dillon is minus 4 below the cut line. So, fans, leave some predictions in the chat. But fellas,
none of these guys are necessarily out of it. You could throw a blanket over everyone from 5th on down.
I was just about to say, so like you look at the initial standings too, it's like there doesn't really seem to be a favorite that really sticks out. I mean, obviously Chase Elliott just had a spectacular regular season, but then the rest of the field, it's pretty even, it looks like. Jarrett, what do you think?
Yeah, Chase Elliott is far and away the favorite right now.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
He's leading, like when I talked about it in my video, he's leading all but one statistical category when you combine both the full season and also the last 10 races. So he has momentum on his side. He has everything on his side when it comes to consistency. I believe he is 3 top 10s more than the next closest behind him, which is Chastain and Bell. Top 5s, he has the most wins, most poles, most laps led, least DNFs out of anyone who started more than 13 races this year. Chase Elliott's a total package right now. Like, maybe you could say, yeah, he's been a little off the last couple of weeks, but off for Chase Elliott right now is finishing 6th or 7th.
Ooh,
so outside of him, Joey Logano, Kyle Larson, and Christopher Bell, not William Byron. He's not. Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson, Joey Logano are my 3 that I think could be the closest to challenging him. I won't say it's my final 4, but those 3 are the ones I'm looking at.
I just think it's shocking that 5th place William Byron and 16th place Austin Dillon are separated by only 11 points. This year has had so much parity. Like last year or in years past, there's 3 or 4 guys usually, the big 3 of 2018, that really separate themselves. This year, it's just Chase Elliott, who's plus 33. Everyone else, Logano on down, has a real shot at being out in this first round. I think these playoffs are probably the most difficult to predict since this format was implemented, even before they included, playoff points and things that carry over from round to round. It's remarkable. Like, there's obviously a few guys that I think probably are the underdogs, and that's the Austin Dillons. I'd suggest Briscoe because he doesn't seem to be as competitive lately. Maybe Austin Cindric because he's a rookie, but he's had, towards the end of the summer, he had a really good stretch of a lot of top 10 runs, top 15 runs.
I'd put Bowman in that list of people because he
I'd
started
put William
very,
Byron in that list.
Yeah.
Byron, I
Both
hope
of
they're
them
just
start off-
testing stuff.
both of them
because
started
they've been
very
terrible.
strong earlier in the year, but they really had a bad summer and it's carried through
But-
all the way to now.
You know who I would put in as well in that list? Kyle Busch. He's only
Oh,
plus
yeah, he's
3.
right there.
He's only plus
Yeah.
3 above the cut line too. And hey, he's
I don't know. There's
contract
Bristol.
year,
There's
so-
Bristol in this round.
Yeah, true. But
He didn't win it last year.
Yeah.
He
Wasn't-
didn't win
wasn't
it in
even there at the
2020.
end.
Like
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't have to win necessarily, but if he just does okay, he could have a second place run at Bristol even.
but he's
I think
historically
Darlington
been-
bodes well for him. At least Toyota was
Yeah.
good there in the spring. Well, they're
he
fine.
he hasn't run too awful well there the last couple trips to Darlington.
No, not in the
Kansas-
playoffs. You're right.
Kansas is my mystery one for him because he's run better there as of late, but historically that's been an awful track for him.
Yeah, I think since it's widened
Didn't
out,
he win
likes it
there
more.
last year?
He won there. That's what I said. As of recent, like the last 2 years, he won there last year. He's run well there, but like historically, Kyle Busch has been bad at Kansas.
Who won Kansas earlier this year?
Kurt.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
yeah.
other Busch. Yeah, the other Busch. But yeah, no. Like before Kyle Busch's Kansas win in 2021, yeah, he was awful there for years, man. But like this year, man, he's just seemed just off a lot, especially in these final 10 races of the regular season.
I'll put somebody else in the mystery category. I had him as a contender, earlier in the week and stuff, but the more I look at like in depth of how he runs, Ross Chastain and Trackhouse in general have done, I wouldn't say they've fallen off, but they're a step below where they were from like the middle of the summer on back. Like Ross
I agree.
Chastain does not look like the competitive driver that he was earlier this year.
No, he's gone from being a top 5 guy every week to being like 7th.
Everyone's sleeping on Joey Logano, in my opinion.
Yeah,
No,
nobody's talking
Logano's-
about Logano enough, in my opinion. I think
he was my pick to win this last weekend's race, so he's
I
snuck up lately.
actually think I would say the top 4. Yeah, even though they could be off a little bit, I think the top 4 has a good shot at getting to the round of 8.
And speaking of the top 4, we can just kind of get this little quick, prediction out of the way. We're not going to predict the whole playoffs and stuff. They're too complicated, blah, blah, blah. But what's easier to predict maybe is the championship 4. So, Jarrett, you start us off here. I'm going to put you on the spot. Right now, not a single playoff race has been ran. Who is your championship 4 predictions?
I just said earlier that it wasn't my picks, but I'm going to give this. Do you want me to give my championship pick while I'm at it?
Go ahead. Let's go.
Oh,
Okay. And again, this changes from earlier in the week already, and it's going to change by Saturday probably. Chase Elliott for sure, I think will be Joey Logano, Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson. I think those are the four I'm picking.
You and I agree. Son of a bitch, we agree. Damn it.
We might not agree on the championship winner because I know I talked up Logano and I think he'll be up there.
No.
I'm picking Christopher Bell.
Oh, okay. No, I'm
gonna pick Christopher Bell to win.
Okay.
I'm gonna stick with Chase for now. But just like Jared said, I have a video coming out later this week. I haven't dug super deep into the stats round by round yet. Right now, I feel good about Bell, Logano, Larson, Elliott in the final four. But once I dig in, I might be like, oh, wait a minute, maybe Bell's gonna struggle. Yeah, remains to be seen.
It's crazy to be. It's crazy to be hearing you two say that because of how far down he was way earlier this season.
He's just been the most consistent. His first 2 or 3 races of the year, he DNF'd, I think. Daytona Auto Club, I think he finished 35th in both or something like that. But he's slowly been gaining. That win at New Hampshire is his best track, convinced me that, okay, Bell is still in there. That's still the Christopher Bell we saw in Xfinity all those years.
I don't care what people say. I think he's the best guy at JGR by a long mile right now.
I think
the most consistent, at least.
I think he's the most consistent. I think if you put him, Hamlin, and Kyle Busch, I'm going to exclude Truex for now because he's not in the play. If you put him in an equal car on any given day, I still would lean towards Truex or I'm sorry, Hamlin or Busch in the moment. But Hamlin, better chance he fails to execute at some point during a long race. Speeding on pit road, you name it. Kyle Busch.
Hamlin's not been running that well as people think.
The thing with Denny Hamlin, he's not 100% right now. We know that because he's missing the Xfinity race, so that's going to factor into this.
That's a good point as well. That might change some opinions. But like Kyle Busch has spun out on his own more times this year than I can remember him ever doing in a single season. So both Busch and Hamlin have failed to execute consistently. That's where Bell has bested them this season. But when it comes to like raw speed, guy who just needs to win today, Christopher Bell has 2 career wins in almost 3 full seasons now. I'm still not. He's even 4? No, 3 full-time seasons, I believe. I'm not ready to say he's better than Hamlin or Kyle Busch.
I'm not saying in general, but I'm saying right now. Like I just think Denny Hamlin's been awful. This season for the most part, it's his worst season ever. That he's made the playoffs, I should say. But he's still, he's only got 7 top 10s. Like Christopher Bell right now has as many top 5s as Denny Hamlin has top 10s.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm arguing because I also have Bell in the championship. I'm just saying I'm still saying that Hamlin's close. It was between Bell and Hamlin for my 4th spot.
Yeah, and then and I will say, like you brought up Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch is the worst he's ever been right now in his career, like the worst slump. Like I can't trust Denny Hamlin or Kyle Busch, but I can trust Christopher Bell right now.
It's crazy because 4 or 5 months ago I had Busch. I would have put Busch as my top Gibbs guy. He was really consistent early in the year. He stole that win at Bristol, sure, but I think we all assumed a couple more wins were coming, and they haven't. Not even close.
And really quick, Danny, who is your championship 4 predictions?
So I've actually got Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, Kyle Larson, and for my 4th one, I've actually got Tyler Reddick.
Ooh,
like that.
We got some shockers. Okay. I've seen in the chat. I've seen the usual suspects. But the one thing that surprised me was that somebody predicted that Christopher Bell wouldn't make it out of the round of 16. Whoa! Like, hey, with how consistent he's been, I don't know about that.
It's possible.
But, yeah, hey, it's the playoffs.
It is
playoffs.
possible.
Yeah.
He's only 4 points to the good.
Whole new season. Yeah. So like, hey, anybody's on the chopping block. But
outside of Chase Elliott, everyone else needs to be on their best behavior over the next 9 weeks. And if they do, like I'd say Alex Bowman has as good a shot at going to Phoenix as Kevin Harvick at this point. And I'd say Bowman's been slumping lately and Harvick's been hot, but they're just so close in points.
Yeah, part of me, like, I really think, honestly, that bottom 4 now could be who goes out in this round. But also in 2020, I remember the season Bowman had there in the playoffs, and he got on fire, and he managed to get all the way to 6th in the standings. So
yeah, hey, you never know what can happen in these playoffs. And before we move on, really quick, my predictions are Chase Elliott, Ross Chastain, Kyle Larson, and Joey Logano. And who do I think is going to win? Who do I think is going to win the championship?
I know what you're going to say.
No, it's Chase Elliott. I think Chase Elliott's going to win.
I thought you were going to say Ross Chastain.
No. In my heart,
absurdity
in my heart, I want to say Ross Chastain. But hey, it's like you said, he's been a tad bit off here too. I think he has the potential to make it there, but winning it's a whole different story.
I want to see Ross Chastain win just for the reaction.
Oh,
that alone.
Everyone, or if he takes out like a Chase Elliott, or like someone else, like a.
I feel like I could see him taking out like Kyle Larson.
Oh yeah, He don't back down to
That'd get all the Elliott fans behind him.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. But yeah, those are the playoff predictions and the playoff points. We will see. Oh, go ahead.
I never said who I think would win the championship.
Go ahead.
Probably Chase Elliott. I kind of have, if he's in the championship four, I would have Reddick as a dark horse, but I think it'd be Chase Elliott.
Mm-hmm.
Am I the only person that didn't pick Chase Elliott?
Yeah, I think so.
I swear I don't hate Chase Elliott, but this is only going to fuel the narrative.
Yeah, right. We'll see what happens. The playoff field is set. They kick off this weekend. But before we move on, let's turn over to the ratings really quick. Obviously it was rain delayed, to a Sunday, and then even on Sunday it had its own little rain delay as well. So obviously the ratings weren't going to be fantastic. In total, a 0.88 rating, a total viewership of 1.4 million viewers, just over 1.4. But in the key demographic, we had a total of 284,000 tuned in, so that made up 20% of the viewership. It was still the top-rated racing event all weekend, and yeah, if you watch the F1 race, you can see why. It was nothing fantastic. Verstappen wins, Ferrari does a horrible strategy, go figure. But unfortunately, it ends the streak of the ratings increases, and we were on a pretty good roll here too throughout the summer. So it ends it at 7. And it overall, it basically salvaged what was a disastrous lost weekend there. So, yeah, I mean, I guess not too much to talk about, right?
For what it is, I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than, the worst case scenario would have been like being below 1 million viewers. F1, they barely got over 1 million, and they had no delays and stuff at all. But, they were basically going head-to-head with NASCAR, and I think towards the end of their race, they obviously siphoned off a lot of, F1's viewership because the NASCAR race was started too. So, but yeah, so, we had a good little run there, but who's to say we can't pick it up again this weekend? But speaking of some other ratings, we have our own little rating system on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast, the poll! The famous iceberg poll, everybody. So, Jarrett... Yep, poll. So, Jarrett, what were the ratings like on the poll this week?
Mixed. They were mixed, to be fair. It was the lowest rated Daytona race since last year's 500. But about 16,000 voted, so pretty good there. 28% of voters thought it was a great race. 31% said good. 18 average. 10 below average. 12% said it was bad. Net positive 59%, net negative 22%. First comment came from Farkle 8000. So
what a name.
Positive, negative, or a meme?
Meme.
Negative.
It's gotta be a meme.
Negative.
This was a crazy race. The rain, Martin Truex Jr. out, Blaney, who wrecked on lap 31, is now in the playoffs. Gregson being competitive out of nowhere. Stenhouse, LaJoie, and Briscoe getting airborne. Great race. The playoffs are hypothetically set. I think this is before Kurt Busch, or like something with Kurt Busch, I think.
I guess he was waiting. Maybe
or inspection too.
Maybe, inspection.
Yeah. You never know these. Hey, you never know these days.
Let's go race for a championship. I'd say positive.
Why is that such a? That was like.
That was very positive. I'm shocked. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, you found one of those. I'm sure you'll find
that was
some
the
more
first comment. That was the first comment.
Okay.
Yeah. That was actually the not the most votes, but like most positive ratio of voted comment too.
He had that one in the draft. He was ready to go. Copy paste as soon as he went
As
up.
soon as the race was over, he was like, "Yep." Just kept refreshing YouTube. Oh, there's the poll, and bam, set the comment.
Will England said this was probably the most chaotic Daytona weekend I've ever seen. Southeast Cup Series, top 5 weirdest Cup races of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Memorable for right and wrong reasons.
It was definitely wacky.
Fair.
It was definitely wacky for sure.
Yeah.
Jackson says, this has to be the craziest Daytona race I've ever seen. Look at that top 10. We talked about that earlier. Daniel West, on pure meme value, it was a top 5 race I've ever watched. 10 out of 10.
Definitely memeable.
And here come the sirens. It's once a show. I muted it earlier when they went through.
Oh, well, we can't hear a thing, thankfully.
Good. I've set up my mic right then. Evan Negula, this is the greatest terrible race I've ever seen. NASCAR Sam, shout out to Cody Ware, Landon Castle, and David Reagan, especially Reagan since he's finished in the top 5 and top 10. with RWR before. And he's finished in every one of 1 through 40th position. So,
yeah. Setting
interesting
records.
stat. I'm not going to read the comment, but there's a comment from a Potato Man. That's interesting. People, a lot of positivity. A phenomenal race, crazy race, but liked it. Some of the best racing I've ever seen at Daytona. Glad I got to make it from McNulty.
And to our earliest point, the racing was good outside of the.
Maybe a lot of people just decided to bite their tongue at this one.
Brad Keselowski out for the first time since 2013. Same with Kurt Busch. Truex out for the first time since 2014. All former champions and near the top of their game in recent years. What a crazy 2022 season this truly is.
Yeah.
Let's go down to the downvoted ones, and I'll make sure that I can read them. Okay, we got the bottom 5 here. Number 5 is from Bucket Foot Baseball. This kind of crap Wreckfest racing shows why NASCAR is the laughing stock of auto racing.
Oh man,
tell me what you really think.
Yeah.
This other one here says Daytona sucks. Give this race to Bristol. I don't know
Chase
if that's
wanted it. It was dry this weekend.
Yeah, Chase Elliott wanted it there. It sounds like.
Stewart 14, horrible. Serby, worst race of the season. And then the lowest one is from Andrew Meyer, who gives like every week his full season ratings. He gave, let's see, this race. I'm trying to find it, but I can't. Oh, he rated this race 8th of 29 races this year.
Damn, in his top 10. Okay.
Kind of
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
very generous.
But
Yeah, I guess
that
he
was the
loved the
lowest
chaos.
voted.
Yeah, he loved the chaos, I guess.
But yeah, that's the poll. I'll put the poll up next, right after the Southern 500 as I drop my phone right there. Perfect.
It's all good. Yeah, so that'll do it for this edition of the famous Iceberg Poll on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. And before we move on to Super Chats really quick, we have to go over one more race that took place over the weekend, the Xfinity Series race. So yeah, Xfinity Series also had a very long rain delay.
You were asking earlier if we count Kurt Busch's win. Do we count this as a win?
I was just about to say, so, first off, shout out to Jeremy Clements. It looked like, hey, this is the Cinderella story. Eric Estepe sponsors his car at 1.2, but you were also on Ryan Vargas's car, Eric. Do you want to talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome that Vargas got his career best finish 6th. Like that's really, really cool. And yeah, we had the Out of the Groove logo on the quarter panels and did a special deal with JD Motorsports and NASCAR Pole Position where if people subscribe to the magazine, the first 100 were able to get their name on the car. And everyone took advantage of that. I think that we sold out of that in like an hour or two. Which was really, really cool. So glad so many people got to take advantage of that opportunity. And Vargas wheeled it. He vibed as he does at the super speedways, avoided the many, many, many wrecks, and was there at the end. I was worried it was past his bedtime. He's one of the few drivers out there younger than we are. And I was like, I hope Vargas is keeping focus behind the wheel. But no, great to see him finish 6th. And yeah, Jeremy, really cool special moment for him and his family and team on TV. It's a shame the penalty this week puts a little bit of a damper in that. We'll see where the appeal goes, but I think either way, likely his win will not count towards playoff berth. So,
but they didn't just take the win away.
I think because they found it at the R&D center. I guess the way NASCAR has it ruled now is if they find the infraction that night during the post-race teardown, you're disqualified. Mm-hmm. But if it's something way more extensive where they had to bring their engine into the R&D center for a full teardown, something that I don't even think you have to do necessarily the week after a win. You can do it later than that. I don't know the exact rules. It just happened to line up that they brought the engine in the same week as the win and it got busted for it. I don't know. I don't know what the right rule should be.
As far as I know, they still get to keep the money from it, right?
And then they got basically fined all the money they won.
Yeah. A very expensive win for sure.
This is what I don't get about this. It's like, okay, if we find it, if it's wrong at the track and it's something that's like really easy to find, you lose the win. You lose it all. If it's something really hard to find, we'll take some points away and stuff, and you can't make the playoffs, but you keep the win.
But to be fair, I would say the points penalty and the fine are like go well beyond whatever the win was worth. Like the losing 75 points drops him to like 20th in the standings, which is a serious payout cut at the end of the season. So I'm not going to say it's not a penalty, but I'm with you. If you want to disqualify and take the win away, I agree. I don't really see why this should be treated any differently than a post race, like at the track teardown, other than I guess just NASCAR doesn't like the image of declaring a new winner 3-4 days later. Like, I think that's all
for Timmy Hill.
Yeah.
That's what this is about.
Were they in contention to make the playoffs at all before this?
They were way out. They were way out,
Fringe.
bro.
They were fringe on the outs.
They needed a win pretty much.
Okay.
They were way
Well,
out.
at least this didn't really like affect them too much then.
Yeah, and you know, like it's very weird because it's like, yeah, you don't find it at the racetrack, you find it later in the week, but doesn't that mean they did something like insanely illegal though? If it took them this long to find it, you know what I mean? Like,
what's gonna be
Not
crazy is
necessarily.
if they appeal it and they win their appeal somehow.
Hey, look, first off, you know,
I mean-
hashtag justice for Timmy Hill, by the way. First off,
The statement that Clements put out on it, I kind of see what he's saying about the change they had to make, but I don't know. We'll see what happens, I guess.
yeah, we'll see how the appeals go. But outside of that, though, you know, one of the reasons, basically like the main reason he ended up getting this encumbered win, I guess you can call it now, because he's not playoff eligible. The reason he got this was because we had a major wreck fest inside the final 40 laps. We were seeing some spectacular Xfinity Series super speedway racing at Daytona. Then, unfortunately, all hell broke loose, man. You had basically towards the end of the race, you had like 3 cautions in a row there. They didn't even get a single lap in that time span too. Eric, you start us off here, man. Like what's gotta change, man? I mean, like, is it just do we just go back to like, hey, this is just the culture, this is just the way the younger drivers race now, or what's the deal?
I don't know. I don't know. I just don't have a whole lot to say because like we went to the race last year. Remember, it got postponed to Sunday or Saturday afternoon. Remember,
it
we
was
all went.
good.
It was
racing.
almost perfect. They had like maybe one crash. They didn't have a big one in that race, if I'm mistaken.
And they were 3 wide at the finish too.
3 wide at the finish without wrecking. So I don't know. I'm going to blame the fact that the race ended at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning versus the race last year ended at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm just going to blame that. I'm just going to say people were tired, a little delirious, seeing cross-eyed. I'm going to blame that. But I don't know. I just sometimes, I mean, we see in the Cup Series, these races end messy, start messy. So these races just can get messy. And I wouldn't expect anything less from a bunch of like 23-year-olds.
Yeah.
We've had several other super speedway races this year in the Xfinity Series, and none of them have ended this crazy so far. So,
yeah, I'm just gonna blame it being past their bedtime. That's I sound like such a Danny was sounding like a boomer, and now I sound like a boomer.
go to bed, kids.
Go to bed, kids.
On.
Get off your
say-
X PlayStations.
It's all a Nintendo. No, I hate saying this because I do love Daytona and Talladega. Like, I love going to those races. I love watching them on TV with my family. Like, growing up, I had Daytona parties instead of Super Bowl parties. Like, I love this type of racing. And yes, a lot of it is being a Dale Jr. fan, which, by the way, I found out he went like 3 wide earlier in that race. Pretty cool deal there. But super speedway racing now is just it. Yes, it always had wrecks in it, and there were wreck fests like what we're seeing. But it's so close together now, where every race is turning into this kind of race where everyone stays clean the first part of it, and then shit hits the fan, and the fan ends up chopping up 3/4 of the field. So it's like it's definitely devolved a little bit. I don't know how exactly you fix it other than, again, driver culture, which will take years to fix. But it does get old, just like with the Indy road course, where you constantly just see wreck after wreck after wreck after wreck after wreck.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Will England in the chat real quick. He said their reflexes weren't as fast as Xfinity Internet when they got tired.
Hey, Danny,
Okay,
what do you think
I
of
think they're
Xfinity
just as
Internet?
fast. I think they're just as fast.
A little inside joke. Yeah, I'm glad we get it. But nah, yeah, Xfinity Series, it was crazy. But, all that craziness led to some underdog finishes. Timmy Hill finishes P2, and, Brendan Brown finishes P4. But I just want to talk about him really quick, too. I mean, after, in the post-race interviews, he's, just basically in tears too. He just all chuckled up and stuff because he needed to win that race to not only make the playoffs but to potentially extend his NASCAR career. And unfortunately, he couldn't get it done too. Still got a top 5 finish, but
don't know how to. I just don't know how to feel about that whole deal. I mean, it's just sad.
It's a very complex situation. It's sad, and then also you can look back at a few other things that he might have done.
He made mistakes, but at the same time, it's like he was put in the position by no fault.
It could have all been avoided if the lady from NBC would have just said, "Don't even pay any attention to that."
Okay, little sidetrack here. Where the hell is Kelly Stavis? Like, has anyone seen her since that race?
Maybe she's not there because of that.
Oh no, I didn't even think about that.
Seriously, has anyone seen Kelly Stavis since Talladega?
She's gone missing with Rutledge Wood.
Yeah, maybe she's not there because of that.
She's holding the camera for Rutledge.
Like, it came to my mind, and I wanted to bring it up last week because I saw people talking about.
Where is she? Does anybody know? Is she like working somewhere else on NBC? Is she like on their football coverage now? Where is she?
Yeah, find her, chat. See where she's at.
Hunt her down.
She's still listed. She's still listed on like the NASCAR and NBC crew, but she has not been on a broadcast.
You're right. I don't think I've seen her all year.
Because basically Kim Kuhn replaced her, basically, right? That's basically
she was added on, but they do they just get people in and out. Because I mean, remember like Dylan Welch was on some of the broadcasts, and then Chris Collinsworth's son was put into like one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was like. By the way,
here's a guy.
Here's a guy right here. He might be running 32nd, but you know what? He's doing a good job at it. You know, you got to be happy with that, Al. Yeah. But it's a good question. Where the hell did she go?
Hey, chat. You know what to do. Find her really quick. But
they don't know. They're guessing.
Mm-hmm. But going over the rest of the underdogs, Sage Karam finishes 5th. Ryan Vargas, we just talked about, 6th. JJ Yelly 9th. Kyle Sieg 10th. And shout out to the one, the only, the most popular NASCAR iRacing driver ever, Jesse Owuji, gets a P11 finish. I think this is his best career finish. By a landslide.
It has to
be. By a landslide, bro. P11, man.
And you know what that means? Because of how well he did in his popularity, he qualified for the All-Star race.
No, there kidding. You go. But, hey, you know what? Shout out to him. You know, hey, we've been getting on him. Hey, you know, put Kyle Weatherman in that car more. But, hey, it took a lot of cars to be, you know, taken out. But he still got P11. So
let's not pretend this was off of merit here.
Yeah, but good job, man. You survived the whole ordeal. But yeah.
You survived.
But, yeah, that was the Xfinity Series race. And that'll basically conclude the weekend recap of all of the NASCAR races from Daytona.
Only took 80 minutes. Good job, guys.
You know, hey, we had a lot to talk about. I wanted to make sure we got all of our points out, too.
We did. We got through it.
Side note, since you got me curious, I just looked up Kelly Stavis on Twitter. She has not made a single tweet since August 25th, 2021.
Oh.
That was before Talladega.
Yeah, that was before.
So she's just disappeared in general on social media. So.
I guess she's wherever. Hey, chat,
hope
get on
she's
it.
okay.
Find her.
I genuinely hope she's okay. Like, we're making fun of her, but if like she got fired or something, like I feel terrible for her.
Is she doing coverage for IndyCar? Is she doing that?
No.
Someone said no.
I haven't seen her.
Someone in the chat said she hasn't. So like I hope she's doing well. Like I don't think anyone really blames her for the Talladega. Like some people do, but like in all honesty, she was in a tough spot, in panic mode, trying to salvage something. So I hope she's okay wherever she is. Like not actually in witness protection, as some people are joking in the chat.
No, we don't waste that on nobody on this show for sure. But in the meantime, before we move on, we're gonna get to some super chats really quick. Can somebody start the timer for me? And
I'll just count at 3 minutes. I'll tell you when.
I'll immediately start reading it now. So let me scroll all the way down. We're getting a bunch. So first off, thank you guys so much for tuning in to tonight's edition of the NASCAR Weekly Podcast and donating. Appreciate it. Let's begin. Enter Doss sent Enter Doss sent 3 super chats, combining up to $9. The first one says, point number 1, never make assumptions too early. Yeah, learned that the hard way. Number 2, I've never been this irate about a terrible call in a while. Yes, NASCAR always makes terrible calls, but this one just feels different. Yeah. And then number 3, and this is probably to my video yesterday, elitism of any kind is 99.9% bad. I'll have to up that to 100%.
What's the 0.1%? When is it okay?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I'm like,
I'm just curious.
This is 100% for me, but hey,
might make a good point, but I'd be curious.
No, we're just playing. We get it, bro. But thank you so much, Enter Doss. And then Napa Racing Fan 927, thanks for the $2 super chat. Hey, NBC, It's the Southern 500, not the playoff 500.
Ooh.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I see what he's talking about there. I see it. See what you did there. And then John with the $2 super chat. He says, "I think NASCAR deserves some blame, but not all." That's fair. Yeah, that's what we were just talking about. Yeah, definitely. They're not totally innocent, but yeah, it's not all their fault neither. Excuse me. And then Elite Precision 29 with the $20 super chat. Thank you so much. NASCAR. Safety is our #1 priority. Meanwhile, they continue to encourage chaos for the sake of entertainment. It's fun and games until a driver seriously gets hurt. Newman Daytona wreck should have been a wake-up call. I agree. It should have been a wake-up call, but seems for some, it doesn't seem to have been working, unfortunately. And then Jupiter Rain with the $2 super chat. There should be a regular season playoff. Wait, hold on. There should be a reg season playoff. So no runaway. You're gonna have to.
So Chase said he's saying he wants a playoffs in the regular season, so Elliott can't lock up the title 2 weeks early.
Hey, well, at least we found someone that cares about the regular season championship. Hey, that's refreshing.
Oh gosh, that's funny.
Much. Thank you so much for that. And then John with another $2 super chat. Brilliant wreck avoidance by Cody Ware. Yeah, Cody Ware, man. Yeah, he was up there too. Had his car clean towards the end there too. That was
not high enough.
Yeah.
I would have won $10,000 if he won that race.
I know, buddy. I know.
You'll get another shot next time. Spencer5478 with a $10 super chat. Let me say this. Do not throw all the blame at NASCAR for this. I agree. Throw some of the blame on the Florida weather and the drivers. Ooh, ...
I don't know about the drivers part.
I'm almost done. If drivers minded their P's and Q's all race, the rain wreck never happens. Well, I mean...
Al, what you see here is that when you avoid the wrecks better, you get the race done earlier.
In their defense, they had no grip, though. You know what I mean? Like
he's saying that the race might have been over before the rain hit if they hadn't wrecked earlier in the race. Which I mean, he's not wrong, but like also you can't blame the driver. My God, Antar Dash just sent another super chat. Said the 0.0001% are elites who betray the elites.
Good. There you go. I like that.
Why is that funny? I don't like that.
We hit the 3 minutes.
No, that's a perfect one to end it. That's a perfect one to end it on, dude. Thank you so much, Antar Dash, and thank you guys so much for tuning in to tonight's edition of the NASCAR Week podcast and donating. Really appreciate it. So now, before we move on to the famous lightning round, we have to remind you guys that this edition of the NASCAR Weekly Podcast is brought to you by, let me put the logo up, Lionel Racing Diecast. Buy your official Lionel Racing Diecast from the 2022 season at your favorite authorized Lionel retailer. Make sure to buy your favorite NASCAR driver and don't miss out on Lionel Racing's NASCAR Authentics diecast at a Walmart near you. Now, fellas, you know the drill. Jerry, I'll start off with you. What you got there?
I have a 2006 Jimmy Johnson championship winning car elite version because I love seeing them tethers right there. And it's a beautiful car. The only problem is this gets stuck. Like seriously,
Oh wow.
No, so all I gotta do is just pop this back into place and it'll.
See, I miss those features on the diecast, man. Those were always so good. I like those. But Danny, ooh, that is very nice looking.
So I gotta say this is not mine. This is actually Claudia's. We just went to JP's NASCAR for the final time the other day, and she had been eyeballing this one for a while of our times going in there, and she said, "You know what? I want that one." It's a very beautiful color chrome finish, Ryan Blaney throwback from 2020's race at Darlington, and I think it's a very beautiful car too. So we're happy to have this one in our collection. Good choice, Claudia.
Yes, beautiful indeed. And Eric, you have the Authentics pack. It looks like.
Yes, the Championship 4 from last year, Kyle Larson Championship Edition with the liquid color. I did a video today promoting a contest. We're giving one of these packs away, but also you can get the pack for yourself exclusively online at walmart.com. That link is on my latest video. I actually had an extra one I took out of the packaging. I know I'm a maniac.
Is that liquid color finished
too? Liquid color. Each pack comes with a liquid color Kyle Larson Championship version with the yellow spoiler and everything from last year at Phoenix. So pretty cool that they sell these kind of 4-pack collector's edition stuff. Maybe feel free to go check that out if it interests you.
And I will round us off with the 2015 Jeff Gordon last ride Chevy. Well, as it turns out, it wasn't his last ride. If you're a Junior fan, you remember. But no, this is his last ride in the 24 Exultra car. It's silver, really pops and stuff. And I just got this earlier this week. Appreciate my mom sending it to me. But yeah, so I appreciate it. And
I just didn't realize that on our end you're fine, but on the broadcast end you're mirrored.
Oh, I am? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this edition of the Lionel Racing segment on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. Don't miss out on Lionel Racing's NASCAR Authentics diecast at a Walmart near you. All right. Ooh. Well, fellas, we are at that point in the show again, and you guys know I'm hosting. I always love this segment. There we go. It's working again. It's the lightning round on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. Jarrett, go over the stuff this week.
We got some quick stuff I think we can roll through here. Greg Ives has announced he will retire as crew chief of the 48 car at the end of 2022.
Danny's happy.
Are you happy, Danny?
Enjoy retirement, Greg.
No comment.
Justin Marks has been quoted as saying that 100% the goal of Team Trackhouse. And what he was talking about was running the Indy 500. He also said 10 to 15 years from now, I want to be able to look at people and say, remember when we were just a NASCAR Cup Series team? So bold ambitions there.
So he wants to be just like Rick Ware Racing.
Or better.
A better version.
Darian, we talked about this before. NASCAR has released its 75-year anniversary logo that it has for next season.
Yes,
Diamond edition. Looks nice.
Shine
Love
bright.
the variants.
Shine bright like a diamond. I like it.
I'm sorry. I did not even hear about this next one you're about to say, and now I'm curious.
Brian France has opened up a chicken eating restaurant in Charlotte, North Carolina. This was reported by the Charlotte Observer, and he had said that he was going to use what he's learned in NASCAR to run this business.
What kind of quote is
Brian,
that?
Wait, he's going to
What kind of quote is that?
I don't know, but I instantly think of a quote. I think it was from Talladega Nights, as the Colonel once said, "I'm too drunk to taste this chicken."
Or in his case, it might be something. No, I ain't gonna.
Hey,
good luck, Brian.
He's gonna come up with the chicken chase.
Anyway.
He can be like a stroker ace and have a driver dressed as a chicken.
There you go.
There you go.
Well, this one's even funnier in my opinion. Since nothing happened, there was a couple who was arrested this week for squatting in Ricky Stenhouse Jr.'s home.
Oh, okay. I thought that said something else for him. I'm not gonna say what it is. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna say what it is. It was
Shut up,
a
Derek.
random
Squat to
Shut
do that.
A few more things real quick here. Kyle Larson is driving the number 17 Hendrick Motorsports car in Darlington for the Xfinity race. We thought it was the last race at Watkins Glen. We were wrong. Dale Jr. is aiming for Bristol to be his lone Xfinity start for 2023, according to Matt Weaver. Kyle Weatherman will once again drive in place for Jesse Iwuji for the Xfinity race this weekend. And then last but not least, while there's racing going on right now there, North Wilkesboro Speedway has about 18,000 fans there. Track sold out of tickets they had available. And they said the track will be closed for construction in 2023 and then and then it'll be reopened possibly in 2024.
Do you guys want a spoiler on where Dale Jr. is running? Because I checked just a second ago.
I've actually had the race up this whole time on another tab. So.
Go ahead and tell me.
Tell us.
He's sixth, I believe, roughly, with about. He might be making a. Let's see, I'll pull it back up.
He's
making
working
a pass
on
for
passing
fifth.
someone right now.
He's working on fifth.
Junebug.
At one point, now he's really far back, but at one point, Chad McCumbee was second.
Damn, the fake Junior's ahead of the real Junior.
Junior just pulled off another pass, and there's two more cars in front of him. I don't know if they're on the lead lap. I can't tell right now.
Woo!
Nice. All right. Well, there's your in-race update. How many laps are left?
13 laps to go, so this one will be over here very soon.
Go Junior!
Yeah, good job.
I'm going.
Give me just a second.
full
I'll tell you who the leader is.
Okay.
Okay, it's a Quaffle. Quaffle's son is the leader.
Danny,
That
there's
is
a
not a
movie
surprise.
that says we can't cross the streams. It didn't mean in this position, but it's applicable.
Oh man, but that'll do
We
it.
talk about racing. That's a live racing update, man.
Yeah, we don't get those rarely. Outside
Call
of
me
2020.
Kelly Stavis. We got an in-race report going on.
Well, he's on camera right now.
Yeah, good point. And that'll do it for this edition of the Lightning Round on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. And now, back to the show.
And before we get to our final few topics, before predictions and picks, we have to thank our sponsor, Forney Industries. Forney offers a full line of welding and plasma cutting machines, metalworking accessories, and much, much more. From do-it-yourselfers all the way up to professional metalworkers, Forney has everything you need for your next project. So check them out at forneyInd.com. That's forneyind.com, or look for that green Forney logo at an authorized dealer near you.
Okay.
Back to you, Darren. What's up?
Yeah.
What's up next?
Yes, this is the new cast. Back to you, Derek. Thank you, Eric. So
We're in race reporters. I'm just leaning into that.
Yeah, good point. So moving on now to some silly season news. We had quite a bit of it from last week. Daniel Suarez re-signs with Trackhouse for 2023. I'm just going to spit off a few and then I'll hear your guys' opinions on it. So Daniel Suarez re-signs with Trackhouse for the 2023 season. Just a one-year deal, though. So not a multi-year deal.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised
I thought that
about
was interesting.
But you know what? It seems to be the story of Daniel Suarez's career. He's always having to prove himself, even after he proved himself this season. I thought he proved himself this season. I mean, he wasn't the most consistent, but I expected a longer deal. I don't know. We'll see how that progresses. But other news, Eric Almarola, he's not retiring neither. He's signing a multi-year deal, possibly up to 3 to 4 years.
The multi-year is what surprised me.
Yeah, so 3 to 4 years with Smithfield. And then the final one in this category, Zane Smith will return to Front Row's 38 truck in 2023, as well as making 5 Cup Series races, which includes the Daytona 500. It probably includes some Xfinity starts as well. But also another note, he has a contract with Front Row Motorsports with an option option years that last until 2026.
So he's locked up.
Yeah, so a lot of news here as far as silly season is concerned. Jared, I'll start off with you. Which one is the biggest story out of these three?
In the here and now, it's the top two. Long term, though, Zane Smith. I'll be honest, because Front Row is slowly been building itself up. Y'all know that I'm far from a closet Front Row fan.
No,
I thought it was just a McDowell
really?
fan. You're a whole Front Row fan?
I like what they've been doing. I like the story of a start and park team building themselves up to being competitive over time.
Sure.
I think it's one of the few stories in NASCAR that you don't get to hear much anymore. And so I think long term, that team, I don't see it being that unrealistic that in 3 years, Front Row isn't a team that's running better than like Richard Childress Racing or the way Colleague is now. Like a playoff, I think they could be a playoff caliber team off of points in 3 years and get Zane Smith up to Cup Series by then, maybe replacing McDowell's supremacy.
Yeah, I'm seeing Zane Smith as the future of that team. I mean, when you talk about this contract, yes, he has option years, but it's up until 2026, however. So, hey, if all goes, according to plan in these select starts, it might not be long before we see Zane Smith taking over either the 34 or the 38, or maybe they'll just add a third team again. You never know.
I'd say keep Todd Gill another year or two in the 38 and see how he progresses.
And
he's had some flashes this year.
Yeah, if the road courses are any indication, he has a bright future for sure. But really quick, back to the Daniel Suarez news, however, though. I mean, why do you guys think he didn't get a multi-year deal after the way he's performed, scoring his first career win? Danny, you start us off. What do you think, Danny?
Sorry, we're talking about Daniel Suarez. I was a little distracted by the Wilkesboro race because there was actually a caution of 2 laps to go. So I apologize for that.
That's all good.
Well, I want to jump in because I'm shocked, honestly. I don't know why he didn't get a multi-year deal, because to me, kind of like how 2311 is built around Bubba Wallace, in my opinion. He is the brand over there. Kurt's great. He's the better driver right now, as long as he is even still racing. But Bubba Wallace is really what made that team happen. And I feel like Suarez is kind of the same for Trackhouse. Justin Marks is a smart guy. Ty Norris, smart guys. They could have built a team, sure, but they chose Suarez. Partially because he was a driver with a chip on his shoulder who still, I think, has a bright future ahead, but also because he brought CommScope / Aris. He brought Coca-Cola. He brought some big sponsors. He brought Pitbull as an investor. Pitbull's not investing in that team if Daniel Suarez isn't the driver. So I'm a little surprised that they only got a 1-year deal. Maybe the idea is, hey, in a year, they'll know what the next TV contract's going to look like. So maybe they can restructure and plan accordingly. that has to be it, because otherwise this seems weird. I don't see Suarez leaving Trackhouse anytime soon, but this short-term extension makes it seem like that's a possibility.
Hey,
I
never
don't
say
know.
never. Never say never.
I'll float something out there. Let's say Kyle Busch is taking like a 1-year deal with somebody he doesn't really want to be with, like maybe a Richard Childress. What's stopping him from when all these rides open up in 24? What's stopping also Trackhouse from being in the running for that when they would have an opening, especially if Suarez doesn't pan out? He's not proven to be consistent year over year. I would keep him long term because I think he's the better play long term than Kyle Busch is. But what's stopping Trackhouse maybe if they're wanting to stick with 2 teams and their Project 91 sticking as the way it is now? What's stopping them from maybe trying to get in the sweepstakes for next year?
Maybe that's in the back of their head, but I feel like what's been the key to Trackhouse's success is that both Chastain and Suarez feel fully supported. I think Suarez has said it time and time again. He's finally found a home, a place where he feels like he's getting the support he needs. He has the stability he needs. Sure, never say never. Kyle Busch is great, and he is Kyle Busch, but I just think they're waiting on the TV deal or something. Maybe a sponsor hasn't re-upped that they hoped would, and so they're going to kind of weigh that. That's the only thing that could blow it up, in my opinion, is if maybe a major sponsor Suarez has brought suddenly backs out of nowhere. But even then, it would take a pretty major blow up behind the scenes for me to believe Suarez won't be in that car long term. So we'll see. I think the more likely option is a third car if they get another charter, but it's so hard to get a charter these days. Who knows?
I will say, regardless, though, it's worth noting that this is actually now the longest that Daniel Suarez has been with any team in the Cup Series now, 3 years.
Yeah. It would just be a shame. It would be a shame if, like, after all the success from this year and helping build that team from the ground up in 2021, if that, they would just, let him go after all that. Hey, we'll see how all of that transpires. But in the meantime, someone who did get a multi-year deal, Eric Almarola. Guys, are you surprised he's coming back or not really?
Not surprised he's coming back. If you told me this 6 months ago, I would have been surprised. But now, based on all the buildup we'd heard over the summer, not surprised. I am surprised it's a multi-year deal.
Bingo.
Yeah, like that's a little shocking. It all comes down to Smithfield. Not only did they want Almarola back for another year, they upped their involvement. According to reports, they will have more primary schemes than they've had on that 10 car the last few years. So it's great that a driver has cultivated such a great relationship with a major sponsor. It's just shocking that it's Eric Almarola, a guy who will get you in the playoffs most years, not this year, but every other year, maybe win a race, but not a lot else. The big thing
is that he was saying how earlier this year, how he won more time with his family. As this year progressed, you started seeing his family at the track a lot more. It's like they found ways to keep them together as a family a lot more.
Yeah,
he seems like he's a huge family man too, so that was obviously important. But hey, if there's a way to spend time with family and still race, and hey, he wants to keep racing, so
by the way, Jarrett, as they're coming to restart 2 laps ago, would you like to know where Dale Jr. is?
He was third, right?
Yes, he's third.
The chat's been letting us know too.
And he was charging. I hate to spoil it in case anyone wants to go back and watch it. But...
I'm gonna hoot and holler even if you guys are trying not to spoil it if he wins.
All right.
You're gonna know if he does.
We'll know when about
you're a diehard fan, you'll know.
Yeah. We'll know in about the next 60 seconds.
This is a side of me that isn't normally shown on YouTube anymore. So
shout out to Racing America though for streaming this obviously with a subscription or pay-per-view, but it's good that they have this kind of content available. It reminds me of what Alan Bestwick said a few years ago when we had him on the show, that like nowadays racing, you can find just about anything anywhere, like on TV, on the internet. Like a lot of racing content is broadcast nowadays, and he had a point.
Yeah, absolutely. So while Jared's going over that, and we'll know if anything happens, on the show live, some more silly season news. So some of you guys were confused in the title when I had I had put Bubba Wallace to the 45. Something might have happened. Bubba Wallace to the 45, but no, that is not clickbait. Actually, the 45 team is still in the Owners' Points playoffs, and it was announced today Bubba Wallace will be piloting the 45 through the Owners' Points playoffs. So Bubba Wallace is in the playoffs, kind of, sort of, but then not really. And now Ty Gibbs will drive the 23 car. Jared, I'll start off with you. Is this... I mean, obviously some people are, confused by the move and stuff. They think they can compete for the Owners' Championship. But do you think there is more to that in this case? Possibly a little bit of a swap going on for the 2023 season? Or
No.
is this just for the playoff?
Nah, I believe Booty Barker's sticking with Bubba, and I don't know if the teams are exactly being
The pit crew's staying too. It's literally just changing the decal on the side.
I was about to say, I don't even think the car is changing. It's just the decal.
So it's just
think,
okay.
I think.
But now, is it going to be Bubba with his sponsors and different number? Or
yep, it'll be his sponsor. Monster Energy will be on the 23.
Okay, so same team, same team, but they're not swap. Okay, got it.
I think the only difference that they're going to do is that I think that they'll probably treat these 3 races like a playoff race, get Bubba into that kind of mindset, because you can't replace experience. And even though it's not a cup championship in the sense of a driver championship, it is for the owners. I don't know if there's like a difference of payout or whatever, because we never
the owners
had this
pays
position.
more than the drivers.
They get a lot of money, basically.
So so I think that you're gonna see 17 guys out there racing for a playoff spot. Like
that's a good way of phrasing it, actually. Yeah.
So
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, I was just gonna say I'm shocked. Like I feel like I'm just shocked we didn't hear more chatter about this. This feels so obvious. It's like, oh yeah, well, why wouldn't 23 Level want their main guy to drive the car that's actually racing for something? Because like Ty Gibbs, have him race with points on the line and all that money on the line. Not like Ty Gibbs is good and great, but Bubba Wallace has been pretty good lately. 7 top 15s in the past 8 races. That only race he didn't finish in the top 15. I think he had a mechanical failure at Watkins Glen, if I'm not mistaken. What happened? I can't remember exactly what happened to him at the Glen.
Something mechanical, I believe.
But the point is, he's been very good lately. Like he's not going to win the championship, Owners' Championship, but he could theoretically drive you into the top 10 in points. And as excited as I am about Ty Gibbs' future, I'm not convinced Ty Gibbs is there just yet. He's got 1 top 10 in his first 6 starts. He's busy chasing an Xfinity championship right now. He doesn't need to worry about driving this 45 into the owners' points. So it makes a ton of sense. I'm just surprised Dr. Pepper went along with it. They always love being on the 23 car.
Before we move on, hi to Danny B's mom. Is that your mom in there? Really?
That's my mom. She's at the Claiborne County
Hey.
Fair.
Well, thank you. I hope you're having a good time at the county fair, and thank you so much for tuning in to the podcast tonight, ma'am. Really appreciate it. All right, so moving on to some more silly season news. Now, this is so nostalgic. Oh, the Craftsman Truck Series has returned after a long hiatus away from the sport. Well, away from being the title sponsor. Excuse me. They've been in the sport. And,
I honestly, I gotta say, I really like the square logo a lot better than the old circle logo.
Absolutely, they return
It's
as
clean.
the Truck Series title sponsor for the first time in 16 years. They were the original Truck Series sponsor when they first started, and yeah, the logo is, as it says in the itinerary, clean AF. So there you go.
God, it's been a long time. What was their last year? 07 or 08? It's been a long
I believe
time.
2008. 2008, I believe.
I read it when you put it like that. I guess that's like almost 16 years. I guess like 15,
I was in 5th grade, bro. That's how long it's been.
That's a long time.
But dude,
Put it in perspective, the last NASCAR video game that you could play, the Craftsman Truck Series, was NASCAR 09.
Yep. Oh, it's been years, bro. It's been years. But hey, it's back, and it feels right too. Like even though it was called the Camping World Truck Series, or if you guys remember the Gander RVs Outdoor Series, oh gosh, like people still refer to it as the NASCAR Truck Series. NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
I'll do a quick thing with it, because I don't think there's too much we can go in depth on here, but I'm really curious if you guys can answer it really quick for me.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna ask 2 questions here. Who was the first Craftsman Truck Series champion?
Mike Skinner?
Mike Skinner.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. Who was the last one?
Mike Skinner?
Was it Hornaday? I don't know. Was it Hornaday?
No, Hornaday, right? Oh,
Nope.
Benson?
No,
Benson?
2008.
Johnny Benson? Yes,
Johnny
yes,
Benson.
yes,
Oh
yes.
wow.
That's right. I think
And it was
Skinner
for
had
It was for Red Horse Racing. Is that the team?
Bill Davis, right?
I could check. You're talking about 2008. I can check that real quick.
Was it Bill Davis?
I believe it was Bill Davis. Yeah, I believe it was Bill Davis. Ultimate 23 Dragon would know more than us.
Yeah, she could tell us. Instantly.
Yes, Bill Davis with the Exide battery car, the
There you
23.
go. And one of the reasons he had won that championship was, I believe, Mike Skinner had some mechanical issues in that race, if I'm not mistaken. Or that could have been the previous year. I don't know. But basically, he lost. Benson won that last one. So, yeah, it'd be good to pick up that tradition again.
Now, I would say arguably the peak of the Craftsman Truck Series era was the 2003 championship. 4 guys went into the final race, 39 points apart. Brendan Gaughan went in the points leader.
Yeah.
But can you guys tell me who went out as the champion in that?
Yep, Travis Quaffle. Good old Travis Quaffle won the championship. And, Brendan Gaughan has some choice words for Jimmy Smith that day. Jimmy Smith can kiss my... What? But, yeah, so...
Well, there's reasening behind that.
Yeah.
Like, would you like to explain the reasoning?
Yeah, so the reasoning
here?
So the reasoning behind that is Jimmy Smith, his truck, Ted Musgrave, was in contention. So if Brendan Gaughan happens to DNF, then Musgrave will be in a position to win the championship. What happened was, I believe Jimmy Smith entered at least 3 extra trucks. It could have been 3 to 4, and then all of a sudden, Tommy Houston loses it coming off of turn 4, and then he happened to lose it right in front of Brendan Gaughan and his championship chances. And then Brendan Gaughan had one of the greatest sound bites in NASCAR history. But the funniest part, he did get justice somewhat, because on the final restart, Ted Musgrave happened to jump it he had happened to have jumped the restart, and then NASCAR had to penalize him, and it took forever trying to review that. And then Travis Quaffle ended up winning the championship by winning just 1 race, I believe, at Bristol. That's it. He won one race.
It's ironic we're talking about Quaffle because I'm watching him and Junior right now after this race.
Yeah.
It's not his son. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because his son won the race, correct?
That's the thing with NASCAR, just all connects.
Yep.
Anyway, I thought that'd be
But fun
cool
story.
that.
But yeah, we're happy the Truck Series is back, and we're happy to give a brief history lesson. And the final silly season news before we move on to the pick segment. The Chicago Street Course has some more news from last weekend, from last week. NASCAR Chicago Street Race has a track president, former Phoenix Raceway track president, hold on.
Julie Geis.
Julie Geis. Yes, she's the former track president of Phoenix Raceway. Geis opened up on costs. She says that we don't get financials, but it is a tremendous investment for us. And she also said that Chicago won't reopen for racing until after the 3 to 5 year.
Chicagoland.
Yeah, let's reread that.
Chicagoland.
Yeah, hold on, I got you, Darian.
I thought I said
Chicago will not reopen.
Sorry about
We're
that.
shutting it down.
Chicago
It's a
land.
myth.
Let's go back in this real quick. So guys had said that about the financials that they're not getting into it, but it's tremendous for NASCAR side of it, which is big to know. She said Chicagoland won't reopen for racing until after the Chicago Street Course runs its deal. They can be 3 to 5 years depending on it. I want to bring this up about Geis because I think this is a great move for the Chicago Street Race. We talked about, she was the Phoenix track president, and she was also spearheading the big renovations they did. From all accounts, what you said, Eric, it was pretty well done. Just don't buy nachos.
Yeah.
But do you want to? The other thing that I was reading into, because I saw that Jeff Gluck talked really highly of her, and so I looked into it a little bit. She also was one of the top people for the Daytona Rising project as well. So
she has a track record of turning tracks around.
Well, she's
Chicago Rising.
she's flying up the ranks in NASCAR, and if there's somebody I think that coming up through, in ISC and NASCAR who can make this thing work, it seems like it'd be her.
Yeah,
she seems to have the support of the industry and broadly speak. She's someone that people I think believe knows what she's doing, and I think that's good. I think if you have someone at the top that kind of exudes confidence or competence, maybe is the better word. I think that makes everyone feel a little bit better going into a wild undertaking like this is. So good news. I haven't done the digging in that you did, Jarrett, but yeah, based on the project she's worked on in the past and how people seem to speak of her, I guess she's a good pick. I don't have a personal opinion. I'm basing my opinion on everybody else's opinion. So,
and everyone she seems to have history in the sport.
Yeah.
So everyone seems to be all for it.
And I'll say I'm happy that they're acknowledging there's a plan long-term with Chicagoland. That's what makes me happy. Well, I'm serious because I kept hearing different things here and there and different stuff, and people will send me stuff, but I don't know.
Nothing was official. It was never official.
Nothing is, and again, with this, Chicagoland might still be, it might get torn down 3 to 5 years is a long time in modern NASCAR. But I like the idea that they have an actual plan for it. The track looks like it's been kept up well, and I'd be completely fine if she were the track president. If they did bring Chicagoland back after the street course runs its course, no pun intended, because if there's anyone, because that track as it is now or as it was in 2019 would not last long term. It is a bare bones facility that needs massive upgrades.
But hey, that's good news. It's not dead. It's not dead, man.
We don't have it written down here, but if I recall, I saw a report that she's considering, or they're considering, capping the daily attendance for the Chicago street race at like something pretty low. I think it was 50 or 60,000 a day,
Really?
which was surprising because I feel, I don't know. I know F1 for Miami this year is capping it at like 80,000 a day, I think, if I'm not mistaken on that. So like this isn't unheard of for a street race, but I guess the 3-day average will still be well over 150,000, but I guess I was hoping the number would be a little higher. If you're going to go racing it downtown, the idea was to bring it to more people. And yes, more people will hear about it and know that it's happening. But if 60,000 a day are actually getting to watch it, I mean, that's basically a auto club crowd these days. You know what I mean? Like it's not as big of a number boost as I was maybe presuming, but if it means the event will go off smoothly, you won't have horrible overcrowding or issues or anything like that. Like that's what's most important is making sure the experience is actually enjoyable. So I again, she seems to have everyone's respect, so I'll trust she knows what she's doing. And I'll need to find that report. I don't think I just made that up. I'm pretty sure I saw that in a quote somewhere, but I'll dig around for a second.
Yeah, but Danny, I love the memes, by the way. Thank you for the memes. I love it. So go check it out.
I just sent a meme in our private chat. I'll just leave that.
But yeah, so that'll do it for this episode's Silly Season News. And now let's move on to Eric's favorite segment, the picks, the NASCAR pick segment on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast.
I can always tell when you guys look at the memes.
Are we able to put that like at the end of the show? Just be like, this is Chicagoland. Not right now. Just at the end.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best. Yeah, but yeah, we have now moved on to the pick segment on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. And let's go over this weekend's races. They are racing at Darlington to open up the Cup Series playoffs. But the first race of the weekend at Darlington is the Xfinity Series race. The Sports Clips Haircuts Help a Hero 200. A total of 147 laps. The start time is 3 p.m. Eastern on USA/MRN. The weather, well, it looked good at first, but then all of a sudden I started reading more. On Saturday, it's supposed to be 84 degrees, humid with thunderstorms, unfortunately an 80% chance of rain. The defending race winner is Noah Gragson. And then for the Cup Series race, the playoff opener is the Cookout Southern 500. Now, there is a very important rule change, as reported by Jeff Gluck earlier today. The damaged vehicle policy has extended to 10 minutes effective immediately. So that's good. So like if your favorite driver or playoff driver is in some sort of trouble, don't worry, they'll have a lot more time to fix it. The total is 367 laps. Start time is 6 p.m. Eastern time on USA/MRN. And why can't we have good weather, man? So it's supposed to be 87 degrees on Sunday with showers and thunderstorms and an 88% chance of rain. Denny Hamlin is the defending race winner. Why can't we catch a break, man? It's always NASCAR. It can't be a NASCAR race without some rain, right? But before we move on to the podcast pick points, let me go over the betting odds on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast for this weekend at Darlington. Kyle Larson enters this weekend as the race favorite at plus 600. Tyler Reddick is plus 700. Chase Elliott and Joey Logano plus 800. And Denny Hamlin plus 900. As for the best of the rest, Martin Truex Jr. plus 1,000 along with Kyle Busch. Ross Chastain plus 1,200. Ryan Blaney plus 1,500. And Kevin Harvick plus 2,000. As for the underdogs, Michael McDowell's supremacy lives on. The odds makers are favoriting him a little bit at plus 3,000. He's I
know where it's at.
Yeah, so that's over Austin Cindric at plus 5,000. Eric Jones, a former Southern 500 winner, is plus 6,000. Eric Almarola plus 7,500, and Ty Gibbs rounds out the underdogs at plus 10,000. Now, going over the NASCAR Weekly Podcast fantasy pick points so far, the regular season has ended. And Trevor Sports 98 walks away as the overall regular season champion. But now we have those standings to worry about and the playoff ones. So we're going to have 2 different races going on for the final 10 races. And rounding out the top 5 is Toyota Tough, 48 Nation, RPG Racing 2, and Jets 48 bumps out Ricky Spinhouse out of the top 5. So good job to those guys. And spectacular job to Eric in the chat. And you guys are making this very entertaining because at this point, the bottom 3 are only battling for third. But Eric,
Danny's catching. Danny,
my comeback story continues.
He's catching up a little bit. But Eric, you are the points leader still at 451 total points. But chat, you are only -8 out of the points lead. So you are there. You are this close. Just don't pick Eric Almarola again, and you might have a shot. But Danny B, you are P3 at -69. Nice. And since I picked Brad Keselowski, and he was like the first one to DNF, I think, out of our picks, I am now -79 in 4th. But Jarrett, you are right on my neck, bro, because you are only -81 in 5th. So I could be at the basement this weekend, or I could be in P3. You never know. We'll see what happens. But it's pretty close, at least, amongst the top 2. But let's get right into it, bro. So let's start. Who is going to win the Xfinity Series race? Eric?
It's between 3. I think and none of them are named Ty Gibbs. There's 3 obvious favorites. I don't even think it's that close.
Can I just ask a quick question before we pick here?
Sure.
Who is driving? Has there been an announcement? Who is driving the 88 for Junior Motorsport? Because it's on the entry list as TBA right now.
So it was initially announced Kyle Larson, but then they withdrew that one.
Now he's in the 17.
To the 17.
Okay.
And they haven't announced anything.
Okay.
Like it might be pulled out altogether.
I thought they said, did they not say Larson?
No, Larson's
He's in the
Hendrick car.
17.
Yeah, he's in the
They-
17. Oh,
he
my
was
bad.
in-
You're saying the 88 might be is
Yeah.
pulled out.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But my bad. I thought you were saying they were going to pull the 17. Yeah.
I was just trying to make sure that's not going to be like Chase Elliott or someone I need to know about.
Yeah.
I mean, Chase Elliott was supposed to be in the Darlington Xfinity race earlier this year.
I'll go with the Xfinity regular. I'll go Noah Gragson.
I think I'm going to. Yeah. Gregson is good at these tracks we ride the high line. I want to go with Larson, but I'm going to go with Gregson instead.
Hey, look, I'm basically out of the championship battle. So Kyle Larson, why not?
Well, and this is how I know that we'll continue to fall further back because I also picked Kyle Larson.
At least I'm holding it. I'm holding that P4 spot at least. Let's go. But as for the chat, I'm seeing a lot of 7s actually.
Yeah, there have been a lot of all guys.
Hey, he is pretty good here too. So don't forget
Give them all dog guy or dang. That makes it interesting.
Yeah, we'll give you. I'll give you guys Allgaier. Yep, write it down, Jarrett. We'll give him Justin Allgaier. So very
Wrote
interesting.
that down.
Very interesting Xfinity Series pick points. Unbelievable. And now moving on to the Cup Series portion of things, Eric. Who is going to suck this weekend at Darlington?
I'll just go wild. I'm glad you reminded me, Jarrett, of Kyle Busch's recent struggles in this race at Darlington. I'll go Kyle Busch after he rage quit last year.
I'm going to go with Austin Cindric. I think he was good to be in the playoffs. I wanted a Daytona 500, but it's going to be a quick exit for him in this round.
So look, we have a total of 4 Hendrick cars. Somebody's got to be the bottom of the barrel on that team. Right now, it's technically Alex Bowman, but I'm gonna go with William Byron to suck this weekend. Hey, he's been very inconsistent too. I mean, so is Bowman, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know he did good. I know he did good here in the spring.
He did.
Inconsistency is what scares me. So
That's
I'm
fair.
gonna go with William Byron.
I just want to preface this and say it's really funny that the chat, I see a bunch of Eric Almarolas. They're making sure they don't get screwed
So
again.
you guys. So the chat takes Eric Almarola. So we have that established. He's gonna.
But I'm also gonna go with the playoff guy like you three. Except I'm going Ryan Blaney on this one.
That's right.
This is historically a hard round for him, and I famously predicted on this show on Backseat Drivers back in 2020 he would go out in that first round, and it could very well happen again in this one because this year, like 2020, unlike last year, he doesn't have those wins to protect him with a cushion.
Yeah, true that. So now
Tough scene.
The underdog picks. Eric, who is your underdog for this weekend?
Chase Briscoe. I'm literally just making that up on the spot because in my head I remember him racing Hamlin for the win here last year, whenever it was. Nobody's talking about Briscoe. Most people have him out in the first round. Light him up, Briscoe. Go get you a top 5. Don't wipe out going for the win this time, and get people to stop talking for him, or maybe start talking, but in a good way.
About positive things, about the positive runs.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Squidward.
All right. Yeah, Squidward. Daddy, who's your
Squidward.
underdog? What have I started?
Kind of just because of how. Let me make sure on something. How far down he is in the playoffs, and I think this could be okay for him. I'm gonna say Daniel Suarez is an underdog. I think don't count him out just yet. I think this could be kind of decent for him.
Hey, we talked about this guy's run in 2020, and look, he's made the round of 12, 2 times in his NASCAR Cup Series career. Austin Dillon just got in the playoffs, and hey, he might shock us with a top 5 finish this weekend. Hey, we've seen it before. Why not again?
See, here I was all worried that, man, I'm picking a playoff guy as a dark horse. That might be like DQing my pick, but I don't think so at this point. But I'm going to go with the guy who was like a lap and a half away from winning here the last time we raced here, William Byron. He has not been that good ever since, but he was damn good that day, and he just wasn't as good as Joey Logano's front bumper.
Yeah.
Chats between Jones and Austin Dillon.
I might give the edge to Jones, I think. I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of 43, so I'll give him. Yep. Eric Jones is the chat's underdog pick. And now, for the moments we've all been waiting for, who's gonna win at Darlington? Who's gonna win the Cup Series race at Darlington? Eric?
Ooh, this has been a tough one. I was thinking about this one earlier today. There are a number of ways I could go with it. I actually haven't made up my mind just yet, which is why I'm stalling for a second, because there's about 2. I'm going to drop the third one. So there's 2 guys I'm really torn between. You know what? I'm going to go Kyle Larson.
Oh, okay. Solid pick. Not bad. Daniel?
I had him highly in our championship predictions because there's a few tracks that I like for him. This is one of them, Tyler Reddick.
Yeah, solid pick. So I am torn between either a Hendrick driver or a Penske driver. You know what? I'll play it safe here. I think Joey Logano sweeps the Southern 500, sweeps Darlington this year, and he'll win the Southern 500 this year.
Damn it. Now I know my pick is going to suck because I also have Logano.
Oh, no, man. Oh, man. Hey, at least I have that 4th place airtight at least for at least one more week, right?
Don't mean shit if you fall further back.
I just don't want to be last at least, man. At least don't put me last.
You will.
We'll see what happens. But yeah. So,
chat is all over the place.
I'm seeing Elliott, Hamlin. I might have to do it more.
So I was between Chastain, Hamlin, and Larson. I dropped Chastain because I thought about what you said earlier, Jared, that he has struggled a little bit more recently. He doesn't seem to quite be a top 5 driver right now. He seems to be more like an 8th place guy. And then I dropped Hamlin because of the injury concern. So that's why I ended up settling on Kyle Larson.
So as far as the chat's concerned, who do you think I should put in for a poll? Hamlin, Elliott?
Hamlin, Elliott.
I think I put Elliott.
Okay.
Maybe Chastain. I just saw 3 1s go by. I also just saw 3 4s go by.
Oh my god!
So y'all gotta get organized. Somebody, where's
a ton of 1s and 9s.
Where's that Spencer like 5388 or whatever? Isn't it 5478? Get the chat organized. He's always rallying the troops.
Well, how about I put the 1, the 9, and the 11? How about that?
Sure.
Okay.
I haven't seen the 11 near as much as those other 2.
Oh yeah, actually, I haven't seen the 11 as much. I'd put Harvick in there instead. I'd say 1, 9, and 4.
Okay, 1, 4, and 9. Okay, all right, sounds good. So I will.
No, 1, 9, and 4. No kidding.
Yeah.
we're just arguing semantics.
What area code is that?
All right, so I will put that poll up, and chat, go ahead and vote on that one.
Let's see. They should pick. I'm gonna look up 914 area code, and whoever's hometown that's closest to of those 3 drivers should be their pick.
Yeah, they should definitely. Do that
Westchester County, New York. Chastain's from Florida. Harvick's from California. He's out.
Yeah. No, it'd be Elliott. He's from Georgia.
He's from Georgia.
Chastain's from Florida.
Yep. So Chase Elliott should be your pick, chat. Make it happen.
Right. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that would have been their pick.
Yep. So while the chat decides who they're gonna pick for their podcast pick this weekend to try and catch up to Eric, I will read the rest of your guys' lovely super chats. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. Need for Speed 5353. Thank you so much for the 2-hour super chat. Praise Ty Dillon, and he has the Ty Dillon 42 as his profile pick. But I thought he said he was a fan of another driver earlier. I could be wrong, but hey, he says praise Ty Dillon, so he's a Ty Dillon fan. Mefire with the 2-hour super chat. Need to go back to the 2000s package for more spread out racing. Yeah. I mean, it was a lot safer too as well. Now some of those races when there were no cautions, they can get dragged out sometimes, but hey, that's racing. That's racing for you. And then Melon Smasher 1 with the $5 super chat. Hey boys, I now believe Austin Dillon is now a wizard after dodging that wreck. Yeah, he just went all the way to the apron and just sat there, just kept rolling, and he was P1 all of a sudden. And then Mafire with another $2 super chat. Larson is the favorite, tied for most wins and best at Hendrick Motorsports. Wow, he says Larson is the favorite at Hendrick Motorsports.
I don't know. You still got to give that edge to Elliott.
Yeah, I have to give it to Elliott too. I got to be honest with you there, but yeah, we'll see how it turns out in the playoffs. Bruce Morgan, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Costly for Reddick to help Dillon. Lost playoff points and now shares RCR playoff car resources. Contrast to Larson. Now who would I prefer? Who I would prefer as a teammate? Interesting. I guess maybe being a team player might help out Reddick in the playoffs. Maybe I don't know. But hey, you being a team player though, hey, can't ask for more than that.
By the way, I'd go ahead and shut down that poll. Looks like Elliott's got that.
Oh, Elliott's got it. Oh, what a shocker! There's a shocker. All right,
my pick Larson's gonna knock your pick out of the way at the end. Calling it now, Chad.
Yep, we'll see what happens. And then Kevin Stallman with the $5 super chat. I get that 2311 Racing needs someone to help with the Owners' Championship, but did Bubba Wallace really have to switch car numbers to make this work?
It's NASCAR's rules, yeah.
NASCAR's rules. So, hey, they're just going by the rule book. So, I guess in their eyes, it helps out.
Bubba, he'll be back in the 23 next year. I mean, it's like basically guaranteed. Like, yeah. I'll be shocked.
Yeah, he just signed an extension. Yeah, no way. Then, no way he moves anywhere else.
Don't burn your 23 merch yet. It's fine.
Enter DOS with the $5 super chat. Don't blame NASCAR. Kiss my bleep. Whoa. We gotta hit him on. Hold on. They created playoffs, allowed aggressive and stupid racing, had a lap to throw the yellow when it was clearly raining, and that's it. Whoa, he was cussing us.
I mean, the first two are relevant, but not directly to this situation. And the last one doesn't. It's inconclusive. They didn't have a full lap. They had maybe a straightaway and a half at most.
But hey, clearly some fans.
Who is this? Who's this super?
Enter DOS.
That was Antar DOS?
Yep.
Damn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's being honest. Telling it like he sees it, I guess. Groovy Goose with the $5 super chat. When it's not a road course race, NASCAR should do their due diligence when it comes to rain. Could they not see? Could they not see the storm rolling in on turn 1?
They pushed it a little. Yeah. That's definitely true, potentially. Yeah,
they definitely pushed the envelope a little bit for sure. Alex with the $5 super chat. Blaney staying out briefly after wrecking at the 600 saved his season. Passing 3+ DNF cars might explain his 3-point cushion after Daytona. Hey, every point matters still to an extent, but every point matters, man. Hey, passing those 3 cars, they helped him out in the end. Yeah, good point. Chewy with the $2 super chat. I'm still pissed Buescher lost the win from rain. Aw. Hey, he's running good.
I don't know if he was going to win the race, but
that's he's a Buescher
bold
fan,
assumption. That's he had a shot. He had a good shot.
Groovy Goose with the $2 super chat. McDowell living up to his name, mid. Whoa! And he has Michael McDowell's name as Michael Mid-Dow. Wow. Dang. Yeah, he's calling you out, Jared.
May hold Jarrett back.
Yeah, hold him back through the screen.
He will prove you wrong through his supremacy.
What?
Gavin Adcock with the $5 super chat. I've been playing F1 Manager 2022, and if we could get a NASCAR game like that, I would be happy. You know, we did have an old NASCAR game on the phone called NASCAR Manager. It is no longer on the App Store, but since I have it downloaded, I can just go back in my history and just re-download it whenever I want. It's based off of the 2015 season, I believe, so that was the closest thing NASCAR had to a manager game. But if they can update that game, yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I'll definitely play that again. R26 with the thank you so much with the for the $2 super chat. Preseason NFL is a local affiliate call, not NBC's. Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had
well, no, it's definitely a local call, but I feel like they all kind of talk to each other a little bit. So
yeah. And then Two Penny Puppet, love that name. Thanks so much for the $5 super chat. When they know rain is coming, why don't they require all the cars switch to rain tires under a green flag? Well, some of these places you can't race in the rain. Daytona, it wouldn't work. You wouldn't have enough speed to stay up in those high bank turns. So it will work on some road courses, definitely, but definitely not on super speedways. PTM Billy with the $5 super chat. I was in turn 1 and it started raining while they were on the backstretch. So we have another guy who says it was raining long before NASCAR thought it said it was. Ross, love this name, Ross Crashstain. Thank you so much for the $2 super chat. And he has this in like the whole meme thing. He says, "But yeah, the vortex fury keeps the track dry." Yeah, some people still believe in the vortex fury.
I believe just because it's harmless to believe in it. Like, I don't understand why people get so angry about it.
I believe. Dusty with the $2 super chat. Kyle was right. ... Cars come from Walmart. Oh, yeah, more guys just keep slamming it. And then Kevin Stallman with another $2 super chat. Chase Elliott has to make the Final Four this year. Hey, if he's having this good of a season, yeah, anything less than a Final Four appearance is definitely a disappointment. I agree. And then Adam Sorensen with the $5 super chat. If you look at the top 16 in points, only 2 didn't make it in. And Dylan, the last winners, finished 19th, only 3 positions out. Hashtag stop the win and you're in hate. Okay, so basically his point is that there were only 2 guys, that, out of the top 16, only 2 didn't make it in. Okay, yeah.
I've hated winning you're in long before this year.
Yeah, trust me, we've hated this for a while. It's just my personal preference, but hey, if you're into it, hey, to each their own. Napa Racing Fan 927, thanks you so much for the $5 super chat. My championship for the 5, the 8, the 9, the 12. Larson wins Vegas. Reddick wins Miami. Elliott wins Martinsville. Blaney wins 0 races and makes it in on points. Thoughts? Very bold playoff prediction. But hey, it's the playoffs, so you never know what could happen. So yeah, we'll see how it turns out. Andrew Mayer with the $2 super chat. The wrong Bass Pro Shops driver made the playoffs. Oh, hey, at least Bass Pro Shops, they had to be feeling some type of way. Good news, your other the 3 car made it in. Bad news, the 19 didn't make it in. So yeah, I see what you mean there. Nate Lovett with the $5 super chat. Mother Nature told Austin Dillon to get through that, McQueen. Yeah, he did. And then answered.
Why did he change his fire suit?
I might have
because didn't he slide through the mud? I thought I saw him slide through the mud, and I thought maybe that got him like all dirty and soggy and gross.
No, well, he was sitting for like an hour in the media center.
Then maybe, yeah, okay, actually no, that was right. He changed it before they went back green. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't know. Why did he do that? Like, did he have like a 2004 Tony Stewart incident?
Did you soil yourself, Austin? Did you
soiled it?
Oh man! And then Jake with the $5 super chat. Excuse me. Since the Xfinity series runs older Cup series bodies, how long until they run the old Gen 6 bodies, or if they do at all? Maybe a couple of years. Maybe.
Hopefully never.
Yeah, I agree with that. But yeah,
I like what they have now is awesome.
I like the current setup. Yeah, I agree. And then Need for Speed with another $2 super chat. Ty Dillon's supremacy. Not as popular as Michael McDowell's supremacy, but hey, it's a different type. So if you want to go over there, yeah, feel free.
There can only be one.
And then Crash the Hedgehog 91 with the $5 super chat. Just imagine if front row turns into the next furniture row. Hey, they are setting up the building blocks for it to potentially happen. Now
It only take twice as long.
Yeah, we just
Is that a good thing though? Like,
yeah, that's what I was saying. We just have to hope. We just have to hope Joe Gibbs Racing doesn't run them out of business. So.
If Toyota knocks on your door, just run.
Just don't
Just
answer.
get McDowell the championship he deserves.
Then Groovy Goose with the $2 super chat. We are almost done with super chats, by the way. Thank you guys so much. But Groovy Goose with the $2 super chat. KFB acting like a normal person is unsettling.
He seemed very pleasant in a lot of his interviews this weekend.
He's chilling, I guess, So, yeah.
So the real Kyle Busch.
Yeah, the real Kyle Busch, basically. Oh, man. And then Jacob Howe with the $2 super chat. KFB to Rick Ware Racing after Daytona confirmed. I had tweeted out a meme of that. That's not going to happen, but that'd be crazy if it did, though. And then Ross Crash Dane with the $2 super chat. Do a new pick on who I'm going to spin. A new segment in the pick points, in the pick segment. Who's Chastain going to spin?
That shouldn't get me. That should get me like that.
Yeah. All right. We have a few more super chats. Thank you guys so much for hanging in there. Ryan with the $5 super chat. Hashtag 24 for the win. So he thinks William Byron's going to get the W. We'll see. We'll see. And then let's see. I'm sorry. I don't know how to say that whole name. I don't want to botch it. So I'll just say new with the $2 super chat. Larson has more wins than Elliott. Yet not the favorite. That's wild. Wait, hold on.
Oh, because someone was saying that Larson's the favorite over Elliott at Hendrick, the best at Hendrick, and we're saying, whoa, what about Elliott? And I think he's supporting us.
Okay.
Well, because Kyle Larson does have more career wins than Elliott.
Oh, is he talking about career wins, or is he talking about?
I'd assume that's what he means.
Yeah.
I thought he meant
the last
season
2
win.
years.
Yeah.
Oh, did he say last 2 years?
Maybe
I don't
the
know
last
what he
2
means.
years. I mean, he didn't clarify it, so I'm just gonna assume the last 2 years because obviously this year he doesn't. Elliott has 4, Larson has 2. But yeah, hey, look, we're not totally counting out Kyle Larson, but hey, the regular season standings. Hey, Elliott's he has that huge gap for a reason. Nova Stone 12 with the $2 super chat. JGR has more reasons to hate Ross due to Dover. Oh yeah, because that did affect in the long run. Yeah. You're right. Ooh. And then M Martin for life. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. This season is crazy. So watch Chase Elliott miss the Final Four. That would be insane. After the season.
He could. Even Elliott's not as far ahead as guys like Larson and Hamlin have been in recent or Harvick in recent years. So
it's possible.
Real quick, shout out to Penske Master Plan in the chat. Shreks didn't even make the war.
Unfortunately, no. And then
couldn't even enlist.
Didn't get drafted.
And then NS Speed 5 with the $2 super chat. It would be nice to see Harvick get a W here. Smiley face. Yeah, it would be. It would be nice. And then Jupiter Rain with the $2 super chat. Why can't Larson fans math? 4 wins isn't more than 2 wins.
Are they talking about this year?
I think he saw that other super chat.
I just don't know. Are they talking about this year? Or are they talking about forever?
Yeah, 18 is more than 17. So.
Yeah. It's a tad bit more, but it's still more. Yes, you're right. And then a couple more super chats. Napa Racing Fan 927. Thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Even Kentucky was better than current Texas. We didn't even talk about Texas. I don't think.
Whoa, yeah. What is this?
Whoa, I'm sorry. Look what I've started, Eric. I'm sorry. We didn't even talk about Texas.
This is targeted harassment.
This is why they're blowing it up.
Oh man! And then the final super chat of the night from Ross Crash Dane with another $2 super chat. Austin Dillon found the secret tunnel.
No, it's Secret Tunnel.
Oh, Secret Tunnel. See, I don't get that reference. There you go.
It's Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Gotta save that for when we're on Jarrett's channel chat.
See, my little brother would
In
know
the
more
mountains.
about that stuff. There you go.
Secret Tunnel.
What a song.
But yeah,
It's a beautiful one.
hey, what a song.
Artistry is dead.
Hey, not only what a song, but what a show tonight. That'll do it for
That's fun.
another edition of the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. Sorry we went over 2 hours, guys, but hey, we had a lot of opinions, and hey, I just wanted to let the show flow tonight. So really appreciate it. We had basically consistently over 500 people watching, so really appreciate you guys tuning in.
Where are we
tonight.
at next week? Whose channel?
Yeah,
Danny,
so-
are you hosting?
I'm just about to get to that. So next week you can join us on Wednesday night, September 7th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on, as a matter of fact, Danny B's channel. So Danny, get ready.
It'll be a special 2 days before my birthday stream.
Oh, that's right. Happy early birthday. And we will be going
Gosh,
over...
I'll be the old man. I'll be 27.
That's right.
Old.
Well, yeah, we're only a few years back. Don't worry. You're not too old, Danny. Don't worry.
What's the future like, Danny?
It's pretty good.
But
It slows down.
But yes.
Eventually, gas gets back down to $2.
Oh, I hope.
Okay, now you're lying.
Yeah,
No,
yeah. Now you're just pulling our leg there. But yeah, tune in next week, September 7th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time over on Danny B Talks channel. We will be going over all of the events of Darlington and preview the Kansas weekend. Well, fellas, that'll do it. Do we want to do a Dale call? I don't know. I just think every time we try it,
He finished third. We have to do
Have him go, Derek. Just go a little further back from the mic. Maybe it'll last like a second longer.
There you go.
Okay, I'm taking my headphones off.
We'll see.
Now we can make
All
fun
right.
of him.
All right, let's see.
Good thing I wore pants today. Sometimes I do the show without pants. Just a heads up.
TMI.
Go for it.
Dang it.
Dang
We
it.
heard a little
We
bit
heard
of
a
it.
little bit of it. It's all good. Thank you
He
guys
just needs
so
to walk.
Oh, good.
He needs to walk out the door next time.
Yeah. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching tonight. This is Black Flags Matter. Catch you next time.
That was a joke. I do usually wear pants. I mean, no, I always I wear pants.
Just get out of here.
Green, green. Holy moly. Great job! Yeah! This guy. Thank you! Wow! Hell yeah. Great job, man!
And we got a crash. Car spinning left and right.
Buddy, let her rip.
Rain like hell, baby. Come on.
Oh my god, guys! Yes! Yes! Unbelievable! You guys are the best! Yes, 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 yes! Oh, what a year!